It's 6 o'clock on a beautiful Friday morning here in Yuma, Arizona. Russ Clark with you from Studio. What studio? Mortgage One. Mortgage One Studios. And thanks you, Derek. Uh, yeah, it's his building, Mortgage One. Yeah, they let me hang out here now. Let's see. I read this report that Yuma faces a 120-degree heat dome emergency. That sounds scary. It says a catastrophic heat dome has locked over Southwest, driving 102 degrees Fahrenheit across Yuma, Phoenix, Tucson, surrounding areas. Over 18 million people under highest tier excessive heat warning, with a full survival action plan and emergency numbers detailed for the coming 7 to 10 days. So I looked at the extended forecast. No, I can't see it. Sunday the 31st is supposed to reach 100 degrees, at least that's according to the forecast. I don't know. With this super El Nino, I'm paying attention because it's supposed to bring water, but that'd be later. This El Nino is supposed to last all year now, the rest of the year. It's going to have an effect on us, and in the Midwest, Texas, we've had cool weather though. The evenings have been great. Helen and I have been taking walks in the evening. It's just it's beautiful outside right now. I don't know how long it's going to last. We're having, well, it's going to be great till the 31st of this month is the first day it's going to get above 100. You know, we had a shot above 100 for a short time, and then it went right back down to unseasonably cooler weather, unseasonably warm, unseasonably cool. We're going to get a lot of it for a while. Let me see. Today I'm seeing high of 96, and that's about what it's going to be. The rest, for the next week or so, it's going to get down to 89, high of 89 on Thursday. It's coming next Thursday, a week from now. And so no drastic. I don't know where this 120 came from, but it's a report I read that was a concern that there's high pressure, and I did see that there was some high pressure coming. Wouldn't worry about it yet. Phone lines are open, 928-941-0304. The Iran deal, I'll talk about it. It's been frustrating. And I've got some stories here for some other leaders that are getting frustrated. I mean, Trump is too, I'm sure. There's a deal, there's not a deal, there's a deal, there's a deal. And I think most people recognize that that's an Iran strategy that's been going on for 47 years. It's not new. Trump's being patient with it because he's got to show the rest of the world he's not a warmonger. He's not wanting to bomb them. And if they want to talk, he wants to talk with you. But but it's about time to pull. He's going to have to pull the trigger at some point. They're not going to negotiate from the looks of things or from the history of things. They said there was a deal yesterday. I know there was a deal yesterday, and the markets reacted, and gas price or oil. I'm sorry, a barrel of oil went below $100, at least in some of it, and stock market reacted positively, and then not very long after that, Iran's Parliament National Security and Foreign Policy Committee told state TV that Tehran could act first to break the ceasefire if it believes U.S. bases prepared an attack. And it claims that they had no deal. They claim no deal. We have not reached a deal with the U.S. And gosh, that just seems to go on. Okay, there's a deal, there's not a deal, there's a deal, there's no deal. But they told Reuters there's gaps are narrowing. We're getting closer. It looks like it's going to go on forever if we let it. And now they're saying they may attack the United States, preemptively. One of Malik, the member of the Iran's Parliament's National Security and Foreign Policy Committee, Said anything's possible. It could even come from Iran's side. Frankly, if we feel that something's happening from a U.S. base, Iran or Iran has the legitimacy to respond and prevent it. So keep an eye on Iran because the stories change by the hour. It's just constantly fluctuating. I don't know how you keep track of it other than it's expected and it's part of their frustrating negotiation. At least that's what other leaders are saying, that's kind of status quo for them to cause delays, and frustrate. So they're great negotiators for that reason. They eventually get more than most, I would assume. They have over the last 47 years. It's worked for them, and they're not trading. They're not changing. Now, the UK is stepping in here again, making a report. The United Kingdom, who has not helped out, has not come to the aid of the United States, has not helped out with hardware or anything other than some rhetoric, and they're having meetings to find out how to open up the strait. They have meetings. Shockingly, they have meetings, but they're not helping. The United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations agencies said Thursday that the threats in the Strait of Hormuz and Persian Gulf remain at a critical level. Why bother? I don't know how close they are to it. I don't know how much they're working with the United States, but I get the impression it's nearly nothing. Also warned that the straits through the Strait of Hormuz is significantly reduced. I could report on that, and I don't even have any agencies in the area. The agency noted the mining risk and interference with satellite navigation systems are ongoing concerns. I read that the United States has removed hundreds of mines, but it's hard to verify any of that because at times you hear they're not finding very many. Then you hear they took 700 out. I don't know what the truth is. United Kingdom also points out piracy threats in the region remain severe, with 3 merchant vehicles still being held after hijacking, and we know that's gone on. And they're still holding three vessels. The Iranians are holding 3. They just continuously irritate and strike and against everybody, their neighbors, their friends, their allies, us, particularly Israel, and us, particularly us. But there's no sense or sensibility out of any of it. Mark Levin has urged Washington, said, look, the time is up. Just attack already. Enough. That was yesterday. He said he urged Washington to take action against Iran as discussions over the end of the war appeared unresolved. At no time have they been resolved. A lot of energy's gone into it. I'm pleased that Trump is going that route. I mean, he would have been labeled as something as a tyrant or something if he'd have just stuck to bombing and didn't listen to a state that was saying we want to negotiate. I think that would have been bad. So he's probably doing the right thing. But when's it going to end? Levin says it's time to destroy the Iranian regime. Let's finish this. Let's get it done. The clock is ticking. And that's Mark. Smart guy, Mark. Nikki Haley, same thing. Nikki Haley on yesterday, said that Iran is dragging out negotiations because it never intended to strike a deal. Iran is stalling because it doesn't want a deal. It wants a nuclear weapon to threaten Israel, America, and the world. Now, she's a former UN ambassador. She's more aware of the world stage than most. I trust her. I like her. And I'm sure Trump's listening. I don't think he's deaf on it. I don't know what all he's up against. I don't know who all he's talking to. And I know he doesn't want to destroy the infrastructure. He's looking for somebody to overturn the regime. He's not talking about the United States doing it. He would like to have it all done internally with somebody we can work with. And we know those skirmishes are going on throughout the country. Many cities have been taken over, by anti-revolutionaries. I wouldn't call them they're anti-revolutionary because revolutionaries are the one in charge and have been for 47 years now. It's anti-revolutionaries have done that. And there's been armed conflict and many civilians killed. I mean, the civilians don't have the guns. They've been able to capture some, but it's the Iranian Guard and the military that have all the guns and the weapons. Yeah, I'm fearful of a country that takes all your weapons. President Donald Trump has warned of something very drastic if Iran does not agree to give up its nuclear weapons program as negotiations continue over ending the war. And that's what he keeps saying. But at some point, you're going to look like Barack Obama saying, don't cross the red line. And I think it's coming. I think it's coming. More and more people are recognizing that it's a never-ending process, and that Trump's not going to prevail in this. Probably, of course, he knows more than we do at this point. He does. House Republicans have canceled the war powers vote. Now, there's been a lot. I mean, the Democrats, I think 100% of Democrats are trying to handcuff Trump on the war powers. Saying that you're not allowed to control the military, which by Constitution he is. Of course, there has been a War Powers Act out there that says that. Forgive me if I've got the numbers off a little bit, but he can make a strike or something or engage in something, but he's got to notify Congress within a short period of time, a week or something. I don't know the exact times, and then he's got 60 days to get congressional approval, which nobody ever has, including Barack Obama, that had 8 months, I think, in Syria. And nobody questions it, but all of a sudden, when Trump, we're going to question it. Now, Trump, I think, had 10 days of kinetic energy with Iranians, where between Israel and the United States, they bombed thousands of sorties a day, thousands of bombs a day for 10 days. And then it stopped, and they were in a ceasefire with the exception of some skirmishes, but and some interdictions of boats, ships, like 70 of them so far. They've crippled 3, where 3 Iranian ships have refused to stop, and they had to shoot out their rudders, I think. At least on one of them, I know that's what they did. But they had to do something to disable those ships. And they are disabled. They never went through. No, the blockade has not been pierced, even though early on, Iran said they snuck 26 ships through. And a lot of press ran with that, saying the blockade doesn't work. None of it was true. And if you stop and think about it, we know what we know what the military is capable of. Our military, the intelligence they've had, the satellites, their surveillances and everything. And to get around a ship in the big seas it could be difficult if you're just using a spyglass or something. But we're talking about a 21-mile area that we have consistent, watch on it. Well, we can read the numbers on the boats and see how many people's on. They can see things. And to say that they snuck 26 by and the press just to run with it said, "Aha, we've read the 26." Yeah, you read it. You read it from some corrupted news. I guess that story faded though. Kind of went away. And as I mentioned, the oil prices did swing when Iran first told the United States they had a deal. Trump came out and said that we've got a deal. And then an hour later, we don't have a deal. Brent crude had climbed to 109 per barrel. It went down 2.3% to 102.58. And then it rose back $1 or something. U.S. West Intermediate crude futures climbed as high as $98 a barrel and then last traded at up $1.20 or 1.3% at 97.55. And even though there's no deal, even U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio came out and said there are some good signs. I don't know what good signs mean. But again, they can't tell us everything. They can. But it looks like the two big deals are the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has said we're going to charge people to go across. We're going to charge them, and the other one was a material for a nuclear bomb. They have material. The United States doesn't want them to leave it in the country. The United States wants to remove it from the country. Russia's even volunteered to take it off everybody's hands, which I don't know if that's nice or not. I may be opportunistic. But Russia has, uranium. It's not like there's a shortage, I don't think. But we'll see where it goes. Now, there's been a lot of conversation, and it's pushed by people like Mark Kelly, our U.S. Senator, which is still an embarrassment to me as far as him being from the state of Arizona and me not agreeing with his politics and his ideology and his anger towards Trump, all that kind of stuff. I think it's very destructive, particularly in a time right now when we're under great stress, being with in the Gulf, where a lot of sailors and soldiers, Marines are all in harm's way potentially because that thing could blow back up. And this kind of political nonsense, I don't know. I think should be curtailed in some respects, but Kelly sees it differently, and he was reporting on how dangerous it is now because we've depleted our stocks of ammunition, again, just to cause fear or to cause concern that Trump doesn't know what he's doing because he's depleted our stocks. Now we're in trouble in case we had to have some problem with the Chinese or some problem with Russia or something that our stocks are way down. Well, I guarantee you they used missiles. They used intercepting missiles, anti-missile interceptors. Uh, it's on record. They did. I'm reading a report here that says the U.S. used more than half of the THAAD anti-missile interceptor inventory, defeating Israel from Iran attacks. And I've also read reports it would take 5 years to replenish some of these stocks, not more than just the THAAD. There's other missiles. It's reported they used more than 100 SM-3s and SM-6 interceptors, while Israel used fewer than 100 Arrow interceptors and around 90 David Sling interceptors. And these interceptors, of course, to take down the Iranian attacks of missiles and drones. And the big concern, and we're going to talk a lot about it a little bit today because I got some news from the Pentagon on their budgets and directions on what they're looking for, and there's some surprising adjustments in those things. They're adjusting to meet the war needs of the future, and it may be less dependent on the THAADs and some of those. I mean, those aren't going to go away. They need those, particularly the higher dollar. And some of these things are millions of dollars a shot. Some up to $6 million a shot. Highly sophisticated, beyond my comprehension, but the way they move and they very effective at getting around jammers and getting around other interceptors and moving around to where they're hard to hit. Kind of amazing technologies. But you don't want to use that missile on a $30,000 drone. And I think that's been well stated by many as this war has gone on, and particularly in with the Russia and Ukraine war, where the attrition, meaning the attrition of dollars, you could lose very quickly. You start taking out $20,000 drones with $1 million missiles, and so there has been adjustments. And I don't know where the Pentagon's going, what it is, but I also know that 5-year estimation is probably based on what we normally produce on a monthly basis or yearly basis or whatever with the lab with our manufacturers as it currently is. Those things can be moved and ramped up on at any time. And we've proven that over and over again when it's necessary, whether it's skirmishes or World War II or whatever. Started replacing very highly complex aircraft. Well, highly complex for the day. The P-51s, B-17s, like dozens a day. They just roll off the assembly lines like crazy. The same could happen if it's necessary for these missiles. I don't know who makes that call and that trigger to be able to do that, but I think they had during World War II, car companies and manufacturing companies all over the country start producing stuff like crazy. And they did the same during COVID. During COVID, there was a shortage of respirators or something, the things that help you breathe, and there was this big condemnation that we weren't prepared, that we don't have it. And they spooled it up and had all these manufacturers switch and makes an abundance of these things. I don't know what happened to them. We didn't need them after all, but they made a bunch of them. They could do the same for this if they deem necessary. I don't worry about that. But still, it's a report, and it's fair to put it out there that people are talking about it, I guess. In order to put a bad light on it, the Pentagon denied there are any issues with sharing resources with Israel because the thing comes up like we shouldn't give Israel anything until we build up our inventories. And there's a worry about that. And the Pentagon disagrees. And it is what they do for a living. Not that you can trust everything they say because they're a political animal too. But I think under Trump, I see more transparency, more honesty. And if they needed ballistic missile interceptors rapidly, I think you'd see Ford and Chevy or whoever, somebody, get a nod to, we need your help. The Israeli embassy in Washington said the U.S. has no other partner with the military willingness, readiness, shared interest, and capabilities of Israel. And I guess that comes because there's been so much negativity about Israel and so many, I guess, reports that Trump is doing whatever Israel says. He's a puppet of Israel, Netanyahu, and all that. That's why Trump the other day says Netanyahu does what I tell him to do, and that sounds like disrespectful all of a sudden, and he clarified it as them being partners and all. But I think that's to get past this notion that Israel's calling all the shots, and we know it not true, and we know at times there's a frustration between Israel and Trump because Trump wants to go a little softer, a little slower, including a ceasefire, which Israel was not their idea. I think they'd like to get back to it for good reason. Right now, after 47 years, Iran is at its weakest point right now. They've got internal strife that is breaking out, and from all estimations, it wouldn't take much to finish off whatever capability that this army still has. You hear reports of 90% depleted, 100% of the aircraft, probably 100% of the large marine boats. They're saying 90% of the small attack boats now. Most of the mines, but Iran may not really know, but I don't think we don't necessarily know, but I believe the intelligence that they've weakened them greatly, and they are in a weak space, weak place right now because the radars and their ability to censor our aircraft have been wiped out over the last months because first to knock out the nuclear capability, and then later the 10 days that we were kinetic strikes with all of the military. And that includes a lot of hidden stuff, Some about, I didn't realize that Iran's been doing this, but I guess for decades they have been drilling out mountains, just putting launchers, missile storage, and missile capacity under, feet of rock, many feet of rock. Some of it that would be not penetrable even by our bunking busters easily. It would be hundreds and hundreds of feet of rock. And I guess when they fire these things, there something opens, a door opens, or something that they've got. The concealment is gone, and a missile comes out of a mountain. Well, as soon as that happens, we're tracking the exact locations, every one of them, and then they can go in and put a return missile right down that hole, right in that. Of course, that has access to the underground. You don't have to go through hundreds of feet of rock, and some of that's already happened, but much of it probably has not yet. I mean, there's still a lot of it that's available to be knocked out, but every time they open up the door to fire something,
Ted Mail.
we get to see it. Let's take a phone call from Ted. Ted, good morning.
Good morning, Russ. How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Can I give a public service notification?
Well, sure, man. What's up?
Okay, I just received a return to sender from the Avita Hospital billing services. Their PO box is closed down. You can't mail anything to them. And I mailed this a while ago, and it just got back to me. I called them. Oh, our PO boxes have been shut down in Texas or wherever it was.
Oh,
so my bill is late because of them.
Well, I'm sure they'll adjust that.
Well, I'm going down there today and pay it in person down there. I just want to let people know if they sent bills payments, they're going to receive them back.
So obviously, and there's these kinds of services all over the country where major corporations can use them to process that. So obviously, one in Texas is no longer valid and used.
This is supposed to be Yuma Regional. I mean, that's what it's addressed to it in their PO box.
Yeah. Well, they use third parties sometimes to do those things. It sounds like a third party because they don't have an office in Texas, so it has to be a office of somebody that's administration for their payments. Sounds like they don't no longer do it, or they've switched.
Well, they said they notified everybody, but I know they didn't because I have not been notified. So
it's hard to notify me. Sometimes I don't open my mail.
I open everything, and all my
I'm getting better.
All my phones are monitored, so I know it wasn't by phone.
Yeah.
So I told her that. I confronted her with that. She says, "Well, I'm apologized." And I said, "Well, my credit scores don't like apologies."
Well, and they can adjust that, and I would be shocked if they gave you any heat on that. I would be, but if they do, let me know. I'll go with you.
I'm going down there today to pay it in person again.
Oh, I'm going to Mexico today. Yeah, and you can go down in person.
Maybe that's where they're at.
Well, anything's possible. You called me yesterday about Kyle Busch. I haven't mentioned that on the air yet, but
okay. Everybody's.
Well, yeah. Seeing the news, I mean, this is hitting the top page on everything. Kyle Busch, and
everybody's got it on there.
He was a remarkable driver. He holds a lot of records. They say the most ever, but it's not the most ever.
No.
But most ever in modern times, in current times, right. I'm sure. But he's had 200 some wins or something. He's just been remarkable.
Yeah, race wins. Yeah, right. 2 championships.
Was it only 2? Okay, and that's only in the NASCAR, but he hasn't had any championships.
Right.
Okay.
I think maybe 1 truck win, or I think 1 truck win. I'd have to check with a friend of mine.
I used to go to all the time. I would go to races. I mean, I went to Tennessee and Maryland, all that stuff. I loved racing, and Kyle was always like kind of an ass, I mean, he was kind of,
about how
he was a bad boy, man.
Yeah. Brad called him out on it, but said, "Look,
hey, it's racing.
After the races,
it's racing.
After racing,
that's right.
We're family.
That's right.
We try to get along." I don't like his son's attitude. He's been raised wrong. He's a little pissant.
I have not heard anything from his son. I know he races, but if he's like his dad.
No. His youngest son.
Oh, his youngest.
He is a little brat.
How do you know him?
I've watched him from watching him on the infield shows.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, he's a brat, man. And that can happen with parents, that are famous or whatever.
And he's famous for, being a kind of a jerk at times. He gets under people's psyche, and he wins races doing it. So
that's what Brad said.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Gets under my bumper, gets into the side of my car,
right.
He wrecks me.
Yeah, and he makes people angry. He sets them off, and then he wins races. And that's what Earnhardt had the same reputation.
Yeah. Yeah.
And of course,
Yeah,
I didn't
like I
realize it
say,
was 2001 when he died. I mentioned him yesterday, and
yeah, we were on our boat in the Potomac when it happened. I was listening to the race when it happened.
I
It
was in
was
Vegas at a rapport leadership conference, but it was amazing. I mean, so sad, so terrible. They did just started the whole thing with Waltrip and working with Napa Auto Parts. And that's who I worked for at a time where I owned
Yep.
stores of Napa Auto Parts. So, Waltrip was a big part of our program for
Heck
less
yeah,
than a
he
year, and
still
all of a
is.
sudden, boom, he was gone. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was a horrible
Yeah,
thing.
it's like we used to say at the track, it's racing, but
Yeah.
still it hurts,
It does, and he's got to be missed, and they still are not saying what happened. He just had
Nope.
an illness for a short time,
Yeah.
coughing and stuff. And did you hear some of the stuff? I guess in his last race, he was asking for a shot or something because he was coughing
Yeah,
and stuff.
they've been showing that
Yeah.
in wordage, the communication between him and the pit crew, or his
Yeah. So it sounds like they had
whatever
some medical
crew chief.
somebody medical at
He said he was.
on the team or something, which would make sense. I mean, these guys, just like
Well,
boxers, have medical people there all the time. But
well, I didn't drive, but I pitted at Old Dominion, and I'm gonna tell you, you get dehydrated quick.
oh my, those cars are hot, buddy.
You-
They're not. The suits are air conditioned now sometimes, but the cars aren't.
Yeah, water cooled, but it's still
Yeah.
it just for some reason you get this. If you don't pay attention, you get dehydrated.
Have you ever driven one of them?
Oh yeah,
It's the biggest rush.
late model. Yeah,
I wanted
I've
to.
never driven it.
Oh yeah. Well,
Go ahead.
I did it because they had programs where you could buy your way into one and do 15 laps or something. And
Right.
and then I did that over in Fontana at 167 miles an hour. That's where they had the car governed to make sure I didn't go too fast. 167.
And that bug coming at the windshield comes quick, doesn't it?
Well, I had a real driver sitting next to me the whole
Right.
time, but he did not have any control. He just had, communications with me, telling me what to do and not do and all that.
Was it gripping the roll cage real hard?
I don't know. He's sweating like hell. I don't know what was going on over there. Must have been hotter on his side of the car. No, he was very comfortable. And he the first lap I could only do 125.
Right.
And it doesn't have a speedometer. It's got a tack, and he
Tachometer.
says, "Yeah, keep the tack right there, and you're going to be doing 125." And then the second lap, whatever you're comfortable with. And when you redline, or when you get to the governor's going to be a red light come on. He said, just kind of pump the pedal a little bit, keep that red light flickering. Don't leave it straight on, flicker it. And you'll keep going 167. Right. I never stopped. I mean, I did 14 laps at 167. Never even took out of it. I passed tons of people, which, he gave me the okay. He's sitting next to me telling me to pass him, and all that kind of stuff. Because there's a lot of guys out there.
Huh? Yeah, we're gonna have to change your last name to Earnhardt.
No, I just trusted this guy, and he told me what the car would handle, what it wouldn't do, where to turn in. There was some they put markers out on the track where the apex was, where you start your turn, top of the turn, all that. So you had all those visual guidance.
What was your body weight at the time? Do you remember?
It was over 200.
Rough.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, 220 maybe.
You should have approached Napa to get you into it as a driver.
Napa got me into visiting and doing stuff. They took good care of me. They weren't going to put me in a car, although I knew a lot of the owners at the time. And
yeah, you should have pursued it.
I'm not that good, buddy. That is a good skill. I'm not trained. And it's a lot different doing 167 than 205 with real race car guys like Bush pushing you. That's a whole different deal. But it was a blast.
Yeah,
I mean, it was fun.
Yeah, that was the one thing I didn't like about him and Martin Truex. They bitched and whined all the time about people running into him and all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Those young drivers. They don't. You were there once, dude.
Mm-hmm.
You were there once.
Yeah. Yeah, but you whining and complaining is a part of the game. It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. But like we said at the end of the race, that's racing.
you do. But there's guys that push it that are rude, and they get eventually get slapped around a little bit. told him to knock it off.
It's a mini microcosm of the human race.
It's a mental game, though. And if you're known for bumping and stuff like that, these other guys are going to be watching you so close, they're not going to pay attention, and you're going to pass them. It's all part of it. And Bush was one of the best. Kyle Busch, he was a bad boy. I mean, he'd knock you out of the way.
Even his brother had a little bit of an attitude towards him. Brotherly love.
Yeah. No, Kyle was a standout on that. But look at that. He had 762 starts, 63 wins just in the Cup Series. And then he won the championship in 2015, 2019. And 234 victories across all 3 NASCAR National Series. Because he just raced them all. That guy liked to be in the race car.
He must have been on cocaine, because I'm gonna tell you, he had his own race team.
Yeah,
his own personal companies and all.
Sure, most of them, the successful ones, all do. Yeah. So he'd race the Truck Series and the Busch Series, and then the Cup Series, and he's got his own private aircraft with pilots and stuff. They just fly all around. I
feel bad about whining about cleaning grout after hearing all the things that he did in a day.
He did a lot in a day, and I tell you, to be in that car for that long and racing that intensely, these guys lose 10 pounds when they're in the car.
Oh, heck yeah.
It's hot. And you got to pay attention, like every fraction of every second you're engaged in that thing, because that car's going faster than it should, and it's on the edge of spinning out all the time, or you're just not racing it hard enough.
If it isn't almost breaking free, it ain't going fast enough.
That's right, man. And so these guys, they're high end professionals. These guys, and Kyle was one of the best. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame and all that stuff.
No, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm sure they'll all vote him in.
Yeah. Even his enemies are coming out and talking about what a great guy he was right now. And he had a lot of enemies, a lot of people he had angered along the way.
Evidently, Ricky Stenhouse and Brad Keselowski are the 2 big favors right now of talking about him, because those are the only 2 I've heard speaking of him.
Well, Ricky had a fist fight with him, not too long ago in the pits, and those are always fun. They throw down like they're hockey players.
Oh yeah, hey, it gets rough out there at night, Russ. I mean, I did demolition derbies at the Old Dominion.
Yeah,
many nights I had more injuries from the fight than I did from being in that car.
I would sit in the stands and watch mostly. Although I was in the pits a lot. Now, a lot of times, because of my position with Genuine Parts Company, who invested heavily in NASCAR, we always had a VIP booth. So I would take advantage anytime I could go, and that'd be a dozen times a year probably. I'd go and get treated well. That is fun when you're in air conditioned and you get instant replay. And you can see them all, but I'd spend time down. They'd let me talk to the drivers and stuff. In fact, I've even ridden in a pace car, which was a lot of fun.
You should be able to.
But they won't let me drive it. They didn't let me drive it. Believe me.
Touch the steering wheel.
Believe me, I asked, like, they sit out. They're professional drivers are driving them. They're not letting me do it.
Oh, that's really nice. How insulting could they be?
Yeah, well, they were decent.
Should have told them buy your parts from somebody else.
But because I like to talk, it really worked out for me in Napa, because Napa, we had a lot of companies like Wix Filters and others that would always give away checks and things to the NASCAR people. Heck when you'd have to do that on stage. Well, nobody wanted to do it, so they'd go into the VIP booth and say, "Hey, okay, Russ, you do it." And I'd go get in the pits, get a hot pass. And I get to go up on stage, shake hands with all the drivers, and pass out checks for Rookie of the Week, whatever. And
when you say nobody wanted to do it, you mean from
Napa?
Napa?
Yeah, Napa and Wicks. They didn't want to do that.
That's weird.
I mean, most people have a stage fright, don't want to get on stage and all that kind of stuff. I don't care. I like it, and so I'd get that opportunity to go out and I'd stand in line with all the drivers. So I'd talk to to all the
Right,
drivers. In fact,
right.
I've talked to Kyle Busch before, just briefly, or
They're
Earnhardt.
just guys. They're
Yeah.
just guys. Dude,
Yeah, they're standing backstage waiting to get called out, just goofing around and stuff.
Except for Martin Truex.
Martin Truex, you didn't like Truex?
Delaware.
I liked him. I mean, and he drove for Napa, obviously, and he was a good guy.
He was one of the whiners.
Yeah, okay.
About the
But he had
drivers.
some success, but he wasn't a top end driver. Maybe he had some success. He liked Dover.
Yeah, I know he did.
He ran really well in Dover for some reason. But
I think they should draw a line where anybody that races in the north has to stay above a line and can't come to south.
Oh, I think that's just rude. And that's the whole neat thing about NASCAR is all the tracks are so different. It could be a Daytona, which is like a 2.5 mile track at 200 plus miles an hour, or Dover, which you're turning left so fast. I mean, it's just crazy. It's like a 1 mile track or something, or less. It's less than a mile, and that's like a bowl. Have you ever been to that and watched that race?
Yep. Oh yeah.
They got one in Tennessee the same way. It's like a bowl, and that sound just reverberates through that place.
Yep. It's a hard track to drive.
It's tight.
Is good. I mean,
it's tight. And you know how
I fell down on the grade of that track one time walking to the infield.
Oh, it's almost unwalkable. You can't do it.
And I hadn't been drinking, Russ.
You don't need to, man. I mean, that's a heavy. Look, when I was in Fontana and I did that little driving thing, the grade on there is not as deep. It's not as big as it is in Dover or something. But
it's a road course. Isn't that a road course?
No. It's a regular round course, but it's big. It's big like Daytona. But when you're doing the curves at 125, the gravity is pushing you down towards the infield. Even though you're on this your big slant, you're still being pushed down towards the slope. But you would think the momentum of going so fast doesn't push you out; it pushes you down still.
Right.
You get up to 167, then it's pushing you out against the wall. I mean, your body and everything. You're leaning right instead of left. I didn't experience the 200 miles an hour like the NASCAR guys do, but that's going to greatly increase that. That makes it hard. You better be in shape.
Yeah, I told Mark, at Old Dominion, stay against the fence.
Fence is not your friend.
It's just gonna hold you in place.
Yeah, but you mess
Nobody
up.
can get on your right side. Stay against the fence.
Yeah, you mess up the paint job and that friction slows you down, man.
Hey, that Chevelle could handle it.
Yeah, they can. It's a fun sport. I like it. I haven't watched it in years because I'm not engaged in it like I used to be, but I've always enjoyed it. And it's more technical than It's physics, man.
Oh yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Until you pull that drain plug after 10 laps to change the oil in it on the track, and your hand doesn't like you anymore.
You've done that.
You want to see the bird marks on my hand?
Yeah, that oil gets hot pretty fast. You gotta be careful. Of course, they don't let rookies in the pits anymore. Now these guys are such high-end athletes and professionals in the pits. I mean, it used to be, get somebody out of the out of the stands. Hey, can you change the tire?
The worst thing was when Jimmy Todd built the oil pan, his guys welded the drain plug where it was next to the header downpipe.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, so you weren't getting burnt with oil. You're getting burnt on the header.
Both.
That's nice.
I had to put my hand between the header and the drain plug to unscrew it, Russ.
Why would you change the oil during a race?
Because we use different oil for qualifying.
Oh, okay, makes sense. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, every little thing helps. These guys destroy a set of brakes in one race, and the brakes are gone, powder, dust. The rotors are shot. One race.
Yeah,
that's how
they had brakes on their cars.
They do. They used to.
I told you the fence is the brake.
No, and it looks like they really slow down to go into the pits. You have to slow down. A lot of these pits are 55, 60 mile an hour, and it looks like they're crawling. They're not.
Well, that's highway speeds. Here lately, they've had a few major accidents in the pits.
Yeah, it wouldn't be
for
hard to do.
whatever reason.
Yeah. Well,
They've
some
had
of
some
them have
accidents
gotten
in the
down to
pits.
35 mile an hour on the pits. Some of them,
Yeah.
depending on the size and the complexity and stuff.
Right. I mean, they had a tire changer go over the rear deck lid of a vehicle and hit the car coming in to the pit in front. I forget who the driver was, but man, he jumped up front. They're athletic, man. He jumped up front and grabbed his tires and went right on back to it.
Wow.
But he took a good tumble on that one.
Well, they're athletes, though. It's not like an 80-year-old guy that's going to break all those bones. I mean, these guys are tough, but getting hit by a car is not easy. It's not great. It's not great.
So you and I could go to the track and pit. We're still young.
Yeah, I'm still young enough to do it. I'm old enough to know better.
Oh, here goes that wisdom again.
Yeah, I'll stay on the stage, introduce them. I'll do that.
Yeah.
And then I'll go up to the VIPs, because most of the VIP rooms had those margarita machines. It was a constant. It was a constant. It's like getting the water. It's just margarita machine. That was a wonderful invention. I don't know who did that.
Just roll up to the trough and take a drink.
Yeah, always a good time. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I just wanted to let everybody know about that hospital billing gig.
Yeah, I'm looking at the website. I don't see where to mail it yet. I was trying to see
it's Dallas. It's Dallas, Texas.
Well, it's got to have changed, man.
Well, we are not. Like I said, she apologized.
Yeah.
They said they notified everybody. I said, no, you didn't. I know for a fact you have not notified me. And I just received it back for return to sender. P.O. Box no longer whatever.
Right.
So I got to run down there and pay it in person. I play this game with people.
Tell them I said hello. Oh, here it is. Pay my bill.
I will.
I found the button that says pay my bill. Let's see what it says. I'm sure it'll let me do it online. I don't have a bill. I'm not going to pay yours, but
it's payments, man. I'm not like all you guys who can pay it all up front.
I wish I could. I'm on Medicare, man. So are you. It's asking me a lot of questions. It's not going to give me an address to send it to. It just unless he pays a guest.
Like I say, it's Dallas, Texas.
I think this just wants a credit card. Probably. It's not.
Here it is. P.O. Box 650534, Dallas, Texas.
Well, that's an old one. You're saying don't use that. So I'm wondering if they have a new one.
Yeah, they have none.
Okay.
She couldn't tell me anything.
Now it's going to be either on in person or on the online.
Yeah,
you can just use a credit card online, but you don't do those things.
Nope.
I know. Many people do not.
Nope. I do not divulge that credit card number over the phone.
Yeah.
Especially since I've been dealing with you.
Well, that makes perfect sense. I like the website because you can access everything that's gone on with your account. You can access, your test results. I mean, that's kind of nice, but a lot of people worry about that digital record because it could be hacked or something, or somebody could get into it, those kind of things.
Right. Digital capture.
I know.
It's not hard.
It's out there. But I join it because I don't have anything worth stealing, so nobody's going to take it. I guess.
Just your love. I hear just your love is worth stealing from all the girls.
Actually, right. A lot of people have had their identity stolen because there's companies out there that charge Medicare for services that were never performed, and they just need people like me or you or somebody who has an account and say, this guy needed a prosthetics device, and we gave it to him, and they send these companies money. Those big frauds have been going on. That's something. It's been more and more exposed.
It's headlining all the news channels. Well, the ones that want to put it out there, Newsmax and Fox. It's all over the news.
It is.
Kyle Busch are the two big things.
It started with Nick Shirley that really broke open. Nick Shirley is enemy number one to Democrats. You know that? I mean, enemy number one. because Democrats
and
don't
to
want the fraud
Somalis,
exposed.
and to Somalis.
And to Somalis, yeah. I mean, his
Yeah.
life's been threatened more than anybody probably. And the guy's, either fearless, naive, or stupid. But he doesn't care. He wants to do the right thing, and he's still going around.
Right.
And I love him for that. I wish him well, and I hope he keeps his head down. In the air.
Well, they're after him. They're after him in California right now too.
Oh my gosh, they're trying to make a law that's called the anti-Nick Shirley law. Seriously, they named it after him, to where people can't go around and harass businesses by asking them questions. That's so stupid.
That's old Vitalis at work out there.
Yeah.
Old Mr. Vitalis.
Yeah, the best way to improve your image on fraud is to go after Nick Shirley so he doesn't expose it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy. I don't know what he's up to now. Didn't he go to a foreign country or something and do something? I mean, he's kind of a a celebrity now.
Well, I know, but they were just talking to him the other night on the Fox
news
channel.
Okay, and I know he spoke at CPAC. Yeah, he's
right. Oh yeah.
23-year-old self-described journalist, man. What a great success story.
Yeah. And the woman they're going to give her 41 years in prison. I forget her name now, that oversaw the program. But I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to go deeper than everybody thinks.
Of course. They're talking $250 billion potentially nationwide in fraud that they're going after. And they come up with that number by looking at some of their statistics of percentages of fraud in the dollars that they dole out. So that is an amazingly horrible number.
It is. And we're getting, Arizona's getting investigated again. They're going to continue on. They're not going to let that voter fraud thing go.
No, they've confiscated records.
They just re-mentioned. They're visiting that again.
Yeah,
they just made mention of that again last night. They're going to revisit it in the 3 or 4 states. Actually, he said he's going to go after every state. They're not going to stop.
It takes too long, Ted. I want it to be done. I want it to go. I want to see the results, and I'm impatient. But I understand.
Well,
it takes time.
The perk walk-ins happened. She, like I said, that girl from Minnesota, wherever, 41 years. She'd been convicted 41 years. So that's one perk walk right there. I want to see Waltz go to prison.
Waltz looks guilty. I have no idea. I would assume he has a lot more knowledge than he's letting on, and he's hiding a lot. But he's still a bombastic, crazy guy attacking Trump, attacking others while he's living in this glass house. It's just kind of crazy. Kind of crazy.
If you can't do the time, don't do the crime.
Right. We'll see what he gets away with and what he doesn't. But he's potentially in trouble. We'll see. I don't know if he personally benefited, but that Ilhan Omar, the one that all of a sudden her wealth went to 30 million from nothing. She had a student debt, and then all of a sudden she's got 30 million. And her best explanation after 6 months of questioning is, "Oh, it was a counting error." I've never made that kind of a it was counting error.
And she wasn't the accountant. If whoever her accountants were, I'd be losing my mind on TV going, she's lying.
I'd have lost my mind in the first day. You don't wait 6 months to figure it out. But she reported that to the Congress. You have to put down your net worth and everything every year. You got to turn in this paperwork. So she put in her paperwork. I got a net worth of 30 million.
Documentation, wire fraud. They're going to burn her. I hope they burn her. They better burn her.
That's the difference between 30,000 and 30 million is quite a few decimal points. That's a lot.
That was the winery. Their wine.
The winery that many have accused of, many have said it didn't really exist. They never really produced a single bottle, but they sold a lot. I don't know.
Her husband, brother, they must be Amish or something.
This is her brother was the second husband. I think this one's the third one. Yeah. But I don't know, maybe she'll throw him under the bus. And she said, I didn't know what my husband was doing. I don't know. We'll see.
I forget what the the jail time is on immigration fraud, but that's the one they really ought to get her on.
Immigration fraud could make her lose
Yeah.
her citizenship.
That's right. And I'm sure she's thinking about. She better be thinking about that. If they've got the spine, Tillis and the rest of them, they should immediately force that with the DOJ about immigration fraud, because that's what she really did.
Yeah, if you lie to get citizenship, then it can be revoked. But on the good side, she loves Somalia, so it's like a homecoming, and they'll celebrate it when they go. They'll have all the AK-47s out in the dirt lot, shooting them up in the air. It'll be like a homecoming.
Exactly. We love you, Omar.
They do. They do love her. And which
we've got to stay on top of this, because if it gets let go, it's just going to go swept under the rug again.
Oh, John Kennedy's not going to let it go. Now, whether or not he has enough pull, he's hilarious. I mean, he had her interviewed, and he's so intelligent, and just cut right through her BS completely. Not insulting.
Well,
what you like?
What I like about Kennedy is, a lot of people, because they're so egotistical, would think that he's just a buffoon because of the way he talks and his characteristics, when he speaks.
Yeah.
That's a slick dude right there, buddy.
Well, that's what AOC accused him of. Right, and he read that to her. Some of her accusations of him just being bombastic and just, all that stuff. And he credentialed himself. And all that stuff too, and then just ripped her down. She didn't know how to answer, for her prior comments, or prior mistakes, or prior, the stuff that she hasn't done in Congress, and then attacked his ability.
Maybe she said, "Can I fix you a drink?"
Yeah, I don't know. That might help.
No,
that might help.
Like a big julep. I like a mint julep.
Yeah. Yeah, he's fun to watch. So if you get a chance to watch Kennedy, you definitely want to watch that. He's a very smart guy. And
he could have his own show, like Greg Gutfield. He could have his own show. He's that good.
I don't know why he doesn't go on Greg Gutfield. He'd be great guest. He'd be a great addition to that. So.
Yeah, that might be a stretch for the old boy. I don't know.
Gutfield.
I don't know.
Gutfield's my favorite right now. I mean, I do watch him every day. He's a smart guy, and he's got no boundaries, And somehow he does a news show and talks about poop jokes. I don't know how that works, but he gets it. He makes it work.
Once again, he's another one like Kennedy. A lot of people with that finger in the air, that pinky in the air, he's just a buffoon. He doesn't know anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, he was a Trump hater initially.
Right.
And Trump pointed it out when he came on the show, and he did come on Gutfield's show,
I'm still trying to figure out why everybody have such hatred for Trump.
Because it was like, how dare you? You're not a professional politician. You're a businessman, and you step outside your boundaries, stay in your lane type stuff. And
have you seen the buffoons that are in Congress?
Correct.
And they got the audacity to say something like that.
They do, though.
They are the biggest buffoons I've ever seen.
Some of them are.
We've got 2 senators right here in this state that are buffoons.
I'm embarrassed by the 2 senators in the state.
Yeah,
I am. It's too bad. But we did it to ourselves.
Done nothing for me, or they haven't done anything for me. You, your son-in-law, your daughter, nothing. They ain't done nothing.
And I think the more missteps that Kelly makes, the left love him for it, because he's attacking Trump while he's doing it. But I think it makes him look ridiculous and better and just non-political. He's just doing it for personal reasons, attacking the military, attacking Trump. It's just a shame.
All I know is that I am just so glad that this part of Arizona. I'm so glad just because of the hospice that Vicky had for Vicky, and my health care that went on here. Where they, thank God for that, because if not, I'd be destitute in Virginia.
Oh,
financially.
Really? Oh, okay.
They'd arraigned me in Virginia. I mean,
Well,
they did a couple times when I got hurt.
yeah, well, I'm
I mean, I
glad
was,
I'm glad you made it through it, man. It's tough, but now pay your bill,
yeah, me
man.
too.
Quit shirking your responsibility and pay your bill.
Oh, I got the receipts right here, and I'm going to show it to them too if they balk. I'm toting that crap with me.
They will
Believe
drop
me.
any kind of late fees. I'm guarantee you. If
No,
not,
no,
let
I
me know and I'll go
understand
down
that.
there with you.
But the information that's picked up by the credit, you know what I'm saying? The creditors and all that
It won't
see
get
the
it won't
late
get to them.
payments and this.
It will not
Yeah,
get to them.
well,
It won't.
yeah, been there, done that.
They'll only turn that over. I mean, they don't turn that over immediately. And if it's something they have to go to collections, yeah, it's going to go right away. But
Yeah, well,
this they
like
can make sure it doesn't get on there.
I was amazed at the apology. I couldn't believe that
But not me.
they actually apologized.
I think they're better than everybody thinks. And I think they're more
Right,
amicable than most people
right,
think. That's
right.
one, and that's good. But if that changes,
Well,
let me
like I said,
know and I'll go talk to them
right.
just for
Like
curiosity.
I said, I just wanted people to know if this occurred, why it's occurred.
Yeah. I think that's great. That's
If
great
they're
service. I appreciate it. There might be
okay,
some people
okay.
listening.
Because I can imagine some elderly people freaking out. You know what I mean?
Elderly people freak out every day. I'm one of
I mean, I freaked out when I saw it. I was like, this is bullshit.
them.
Oh, excuse me. This is bull dookie, man.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm not on FCC right now rules, but I still try to pretend I am.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I know.
we're going to be back.
All right.
Hopefully.
What? When? That's not
Um,
what I hear from FCC.
But we don't know because we haven't heard of any agreement yet. So we're still working on it, and I think it's kind of like dealing with Iran right now. Some stalling tactics, but I don't know what it's going to amount to. But I'm patient, and the FCC has some strict rules on that station. They own it. The FCC does, and they can take it.
El Dorado, yeah.
Well, El Dorado owns it, but it's under
right.
it's leased.
Right.
It's leased from the government. The government actually is the one that can take it back.
Right.
But when you shut a station down, you got 12 months to really fix it. But if you're out of business and you have no intention of that, they can shorten it. We just got to convince FCC that that's the case. That's all.
Right. Well, this is what the FCC told me about El Dorado.
Yeah, what's that?
They haven't heard anything.
Well, that's illegal. Once you shut down a station, you got 2 weeks to notify them that it's shut down. So at least they've done that.
I meant in the regards of what they're going to do.
Well, that should concern the FCC, and that's why we need people to write the FCC and say, "What's up?
Yeah,
how come nothing's happening? We haven't heard news." Because that signal still exists in this area. That signal's still available.
Right.
But FCC can't sell it. The FCC can't do anything with it because it's still under the possession of El Dorado, and El Dorado's hanging on to it for whatever reason. We don't know.
Well, why didn't Mayor Doug put up a station for us?
Because there's no signals available. The only one that's available is 560, and it's under the control of El Dorado still, and they haven't made a determination on what they're going to do with it, other than they're no longer in Yuma. They're not here.
That's what they haven't heard from at the FCC. They have had no communication, unless they're lying to me also.
I doubt it. No. But if enough concern goes in, FCC will do an investigation, and then we'll know, because they'll find out.
Right.
And we'll find out what the deal is. Right now, I'm just hanging tight, being patient.
Yeah.
And I know
maybe I should call the Leering Center and see if they can help me.
Might be. Maybe. All right, buddy. Be good. Appreciate it.
All right, you too. Bye.
Thank you, Ted. That was Mr. Ted checking up this morning. And he called me yesterday because of Kyle Busch. Of course, I'd already heard by then. There was some phone calls and texts from people that knew I was a NASCAR fan at one time, even though I haven't watched it in quite a few years. But I used to be very much NASCAR and football all the time. Ted, so you know, Sandy asked a good question. I didn't ask you while you were on the air, but I'll ask you now. She wanted to know if you got a bill from on Vita that included an envelope with the Texas P.O. box on it. Great question. Uh, okay, the Meghan McCain's in the news a little bit. I hadn't heard of. She was on The View for a while and all that. And that is the daughter of late Arizona Senator John McCain, which, I go out on a limb. I'll tell you, I like John McCain. I did. Towards the end of his career, there were some things I did not like about John McCain, his politics and all that stuff. But he always treated me well. He was a great guy. I enjoyed meeting with him. He took time to show me around the Capitol building. Here's what she's in the news for. She was body shaming a guest, I guess, at the White House on Thursday. Guy named Ron Graft Sr. I'll get back to that. Let me take a phone call and see what Mike's up to. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
The Democrat Party is communist.
Okay.
China is communist. All of this fear is this heightened fear, this artificial fear is about the mainstream media's affiliation with the Communist Party. The adage that has been proven over the last 6 years, if the Democrat Party is for it, then you should be against it. If the Democrat Party says something, then you believe the opposite. So we're talking about these things generating heat. What does every home have in Arizona? Because it generates. You have to understand what the science of a compressor and the freon. It takes the heat out of the air to cool the air in a house. And what does it do? If you stand outside of an air conditioning system, isn't it hot?
Yep, that's what happens. You're exactly right. It exchanges.
All the air conditioning systems in Arizona, count them. Has that affected the temperature of Arizona?
No.
Look at the oil spills. Look at the oil spills. Exxon Valdez and the BP pump in the Gulf of America.
Oh, there's been many. Yep.
Go ahead.
There's been many of them, and there was one big one where it flowed freely for weeks. It dissipated. It went away.
You don't need human factor to fix that because the ocean cleans it.
It did, surprisingly.
And what they found out with our submarines, that the bottom of the ocean is spewing out crude oil all the time. Gee, that's because the environment cleans it. This is all horse crap. The thing about it is AI is coming, and Trump is trying to. Imagine if Kamala Harris would have been elected president. I mean, my God, China would have been the ruler of everything.
Well, definitely AI. They want AI they want to lead AI. Yeah.
And AI, in order for this exchange of currency. But yes. What is going to happen, despite everything anybody says, it's happening. But AI is driving that. But you want to know something else that these data centers will be good for?
Keeping.
We find out how. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're going to keep your cloud. Everything you put on the cloud, like you have family pictures, you have information on the cloud. That goes into a data center. That's what it is.
What else you're going to be able to? You're going to be able to keep track of?
What's that?
Voter registration.
Yeah.
And the Democrats we're going to, the thing that we should be able to do is every month and quarterly, we should figure out how many votes are going into the day. And nothing, and that tally should not be greater than the votes that were accumulated on that day. Democrats don't want that.
No, they don't. And that's why they don't want you to cancel people that have died or cancel voter registration for people that move out of state, because they got to have a ton of people on the register in case they have to dump some votes in there. And they can say, well, we still only had 95% vote. It wasn't past the registered voters. Yep.
And so the Democrats are against this. So I should be for it. I mean, that's the way it's been going. Democrats say one thing, you do the opposite, and that is the media.
The Democrats got a great wake up call, Mike, when they just had, their analysis of the 24 election come out, and they went through it and like the things you did wrong, things you did that. And all the major Democrats, the leaders, are looking at that report and saying, that's crap, because the report told them they were on the wrong side of the issues. The report told them that they didn't communicate well. And they're saying, oh, that's crap, because we should be for boys in a girls' room. We should be for those issues, and for unlimited immigration, and for not having voters sign in or have an ID. And the public is against it. And this analysis pointed all that out. And the leaders are saying, oh, that's a piece of junk report. We're not going to pay attention to it. They don't care.
Oh.
There's so much arrogance. They don't care what people think.
So there's going to be, apparently the Democrats don't want this, which means that, and the Democrats work for the Communist China.
Yes.
The Democrat Party is Communist China. And that's just a given. And so the Democrat Party, through the Democrat media, is going to be heightening this hysteria to motivate people. But I mean, look what happened with the nuclear power plants in this country with that big lie that is 3 Mile Island. 3 Mile Island and that stupid show with Jane Fonda.
Yeah,
that was all propaganda. That thing.
It was.
There was nothing wrong with that.
China syndrome.
Nothing.
Yeah, China syndrome. And that came out right with 3 Mile Island. And nobody died in 3 Mile Island. They had a mishap, and that mishap was because of poor designs. The designs are not good on those older nuclear reactors, because if you had lost power, then they would lose cooling. Well, the new ones, if you lose power, the cooling's automatic and it cools it down, shuts it down, which is the way it should be, and that's the way they are now.
The thing about there were 2 manufacturers back then. America made nuclear power plants for everybody else but us because of 3 Mile Island, because of the China syndrome. And then Russia. Yeah. America had 3 inherent redundancies. Russia had 2 inherent redundancies, which is the example of Chernobyl and the example of 3 Mile Island.
Yeah. Well, Chernobyl killed a lot of people, and that's still not habitable country. 3 Mile Island did not. It did not have a spill. There was no spill.
Fukushima killed people. 3 Mile Island worked because it fixed itself. Its redundancies, which was supposed to happen, it worked. Yeah. And so, and you know what? Because of those redundancies, you're able to go back in there and fix the power plant. They
didn't do it in the 80s, early 80s when it happened. No, they shut it down. It's now being opened up again by people that want to put in data centers.
Sure. Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Starting right now, if it's coming from a Democrat, if it's coming from the mainstream media, it's a lie.
Yeah, well, it's suspect.
That's what needs to be reported right now. That is Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. It's Rahm Emanuel. If there's no crisis, create a crisis, and you frame it until you get stupid people with pink hair and nose rings to believe it, and then you send them out there to protest it.
Yeah, they're tools. Absolutely. And it's gotten ridiculous. The anger and the vitriol, anytime Trump does something successful, Chuck Schumer comes out and points out how terrible it is. And it's just
Absolutely.
ridiculous. It's not like we're for America anymore. We're for our party, and that's it. If our party doesn't
Democrats-
prosper, let it fail.
Democrats and rhinos hate America.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the BS that Massey is spewing right now.
Oh, Massey flipped his vote after he lost that election to go against Trump.
So
yeah.
you know, this is all malarkey.
It's all
This is
about
a positive.
It's about personal vendetta, personal, against me. It's not for country. These guys take an oath to country, not an oath to self.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They are not for country.
No.
So we're going to find out in was it 5 months now, and if it goes in our favor, hopefully all this crap goes away.
Yet to be
Democrat Party.
yet to be determined. Yet to be determined. I hope you're right. I hope it goes away.
Well, did they pass it or didn't they pass it? The voter ID and citizenship.
No. The SAVE Act is not passed, and Thune sent everybody home in the Senate on vacation. So, and that's Thune putting a thumb in Trump's eye because of Massey. I think I lost him. I didn't hang up on you, Mike, but thank you for the call. Meghan McCain. She apparently made some reference to John Graff Sr. He's the owner of the Ohio-based Colombian Foods. He was at the White House also. And she said something. She says, can the advanced people not put some random man's belly button next to our president's head in the camera shot? So I didn't see the picture, but apparently, Trump is always sitting at the Resolute desk and people standing around him for photo opportunity. Apparently, this Ron Graff Sr. was sitting there and he has an Audi belly button, and it offended her. Well, that didn't work out well for her on social media. People writing things like, Megan, why are you fat shaming? That's what concerns you. So shallow. Why don't body shame? Or says we don't body shame, Megan. Another one wrote. Adam Kiesinger came to her rescue, though. But of course, Adam, a fellow Trump hater, he wrote, Audis and no suits. I thought that was requirement, at least for Zelensky. Trump was upset that Zelensky didn't wear a suit when he visited. He wore his normal black, I don't know, it's not army issue or something, but it's just what he normally wears. I mean, he has suits and he wore them next time, but I guess on state visits, it's kind of a protocol. Zelensky ignored it. Well, I don't think that's a big deal, but Trump mentioned it for sure. And that's why Zelensky says you're not requiring it for everybody. No, that was like a state visit thing, I guess. I would think, though, that people go to the White House, it's, out of respect or whatever, is wear a suit, sports coat or something. Reagan was big on that. He said he always wore a coat, his jacket when he walked into the White House Oval Office out of respect and all that kind of stuff. Clinton was a little different on that. Clothing optional for Clinton at times. Anyway. There's an article here about Don Jr., Donald Trump Jr., and that Donald Trump Sr., President Trump, is snubbing his own son, which, if you watch Donald Trump in action and all that, he's very much a family man. He's not the president that disavows grandchildren. That would be President Biden. What was her name? Victory or something like that. Liberty. Had a granddaughter named Liberty, and wouldn't list her as it went on an unofficial listing of all my grandchildren. They'd list them by names and not put Liberty there and all that kind of stuff. That was just kind of crazy. Kind of a weird dude, Biden. But Trump's not like that. He's very much a family man and all that. Of course, I have no knowledge about his relationship with Don Jr., but Don Jr. seems to be one of his biggest supporters. He's very much a supporter politically and everything. But here's what this op-ed piece says, that John Jr. is about to wed a socialite. Bettina Anderson this weekend, apparently. And it's only going to be a small group of friends in the Bahamas. And apparently Trump's not going to be there. And Don Jr. and Bettina put it off until the war with Iran was over, I guess, but they're going to go ahead and get it done. It's going to be a small group. It's not a state wedding or something where thousands of guests or something are coming. It's just a few friends. But reporters asked him about it. Are you going and everything? And he said the timing isn't ideal. And he replied, he says, he'd like to go, but it's going to be a small, little private affair. I'm going to try and make it. This is not good timing for me. I have a thing called Iran and other things. And he says, that's one I can't win. If I do attend, I get killed. If I don't attend, I get killed by the fake news, of course. That's what I'm talking about. Hopefully, they're going to have a great marriage. I think he's right. I think if he doesn't attend, he'll get beat up in the press about snubbing his son like this article is doing. And if he does go, it's going to be about ignoring state responsibilities because he's in the middle of a conflict with Iran. Even though it's not a war at this time, it's been stalled for peace talks for 6 weeks or something, 7 weeks. It's been a while. The whole bombing thing only lasted 10 days. I say only. That's a lot of days when you got 1,000 bombs a day coming at you. But that's I like the fact that he's not going to Africa while that thing's on, and that's of course reference to our mayor in L.A. that took off during the fires in L.A. to go on an excursion to Africa, which as a Democrat you're not going to get beat up like that as much, but it's out there. Trump. Let me see. The Iran strike started on February 28th. And they expected it to be pretty speedy against the regime, and it was. I mean, they got everything accomplished they wanted to as far as knocking out the military capabilities. What they didn't get accomplished was their willingness to stand down, like most people would. And I think the same thing with Japan. Japan during World War II was pretty much defeated. They were no longer a power that was outside the area. Their military had all came back into Japan for the most part. Their navy and everything came in close to defend Japan as much as they could, and yet there were bombing runs and firebomb runs over Tokyo and other things that were going on, and they were getting pummeled and would not surrender. So this attitude has been there before and had very much that attitude. World War II, they were not going to surrender, even though they were pretty devastated. Their military capability was reduced probably just like Iran's is, but they were not going to give it up. And to land forces on Japan would have cost hundreds of thousands of lives. So they used a new nuclear bomb, not once but twice, to get them to agree that we're going to give up. And then I guess they became good friends. We work well together now. We're allies. And maybe Trump thought that, and many in the military thought that there would be enough people in Iran to overthrow, the Ayatollahs and stuff, and get some kind of internal regime change where we don't have to do it. Hasn't happened yet. A lot of fighting in the streets, a lot of stuff's going on, a lot of disconnect amongst the military, but they still seem to hang on and exist. Don't know for how much longer. Hopefully that goes away. And then Trump could go to the wedding if that was the case. Trump, and this article points out that we're up $4.56 a gallon, according to AAA, and that's the national average. And that's the highest in 4 years. And that's after Trump hit some record lows. Going into it, we were below $2 in some states. Trump says we want to open it. We want it free. We don't want tolls, and that's in reference to the Strait of Hormuz. But he sees the big picture. He sees the long term, and he's sacrificing his own image to not open it. He could easily just agree with Iran, like many presidents before him, and knowing that it would take 10 years to get their nuclear capability back up, and it would take maybe 2 decades to get their military back to where it was. He could easily do that, and it'd be somebody else's problem. I respect the fact that he doesn't want to. I mean, it's hard for me too, because I have to go to the gas pumps. And it's hard for me to see that it's going to cause some strain on the election coming up, and that it may swing more Democrat votes because of what's going on. And that's what Iran's holding on to, is that if they hold out and survive, even though their survival is a fraction of what they had, they could swing the vote in the United States and get a friend in there that's just going to feel sorry for them, give them some money, and they can rebuild. And be just as angry and as much as we're death to America as they've ever been. And build it back in 20 years, and then our kids have the problem. Trump doesn't want to do that. As far as Trump and his son, this article talks about some things. I'm not sure. These are opinions. It says Don Jr., deeply eager for validation from his father, who also had a fraught relationship with his own dad, Fred. And Trump speaks about his dad, Fred, quite often, not in negative terms, but he does speak about him. Obviously, his dad sent him to a military school. I don't know if that was a positive or a punishment. I have no idea. But Don Jr. has increasingly positioned himself as the purest embodiment of Trumpism within the family, cultivating close ties with MAGA base through podcasts, social media, and campaign appearances. That's what made me think that, their relationship is good. Had a long engagement with Kimberly Guilfoyle, very visible figure in the Trump world. Now the ambassador to Greece, in fact, but no longer with Don Jr. She's just the ambassador, and Bertina Anderson, a socialite, is now the fiance, about to be the next Mrs. Don Jr. She's out of Palm Beach, a Columbia graduate, wealthy Florida family, which would, give them something in common with Don Jr. And I guess she's been with Don Jr. since 24. Photographers have been taking photographs of the pair together, even when he was still publicly tied to Guilfoyle. And I don't remember seeing, and I haven't paid attention, but apparently she's been a fixture at Mar-a-Lago, the White House social circuit. And she's been accompanying Don Jr. to political and diplomatic events. And increasingly integrating herself into the Trump family, which would be a good place to be. It would not be a bad place to be, is to be in the Trump family. I'd rather be in the Trump family than Biden family. Biden family is more like a cartel, I think. Because if you're out of that Biden family, then they won't even mention your child's name, even if it's a grandchild. Disown you. You're off the plantation. You're gone. I think Trump a little more friendly. Like, even his ex-wife still loved him. He didn't seem to make enemies with that, and that tells you something about his character. The Democrats hate him. I will give you that. They do. Something else I like about Donald Trump today. So I'm giving some Donald Trump some likes today. He is championing a bid to get rid of daylight savings time, or to adopt it permanently, whatever the case is. And that means that we'd never change the clocks again. The clocks would stay the clock, like it is in the state of Arizona. State of Arizona, you don't change the clocks. Daylight savings time is something for everybody else to worry about, although it affects us. If you do business with anybody outside the state, it affects us. And quite often I arrange for interviews and stuff all over the country. And I have to always tell them, we'll set up a time for 7:00 Arizona time. And of course, that Arizona time changes. It's 3 hours to the East Coast. Then part of the year, it's 2 hours to the East Coast. So it can cause, just attention to that detail or whatever, but it's not a big deal. Looks like Mike's calling back. Good morning.
Hey, Russ, if I could get back on the phone again.
Yeah.
Listen,
you got cut off or something, man.
Well, my phone ran out of juice.
Yeah, plug it in occasionally. All right.
And again, I keep on pounding this away, and I hope people are listening.
Yeah.
The two mantras We don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics. We need to.
Yep.
We need to keep hitting that ball and hitting it out of the park. But there's another one.
Agreed. Yep.
There's another one that goes in line with this AI and the propaganda that they're starting right now. And it's the problem with this country. The problem that we have had all this time is voter fraud.
Correct.
Voter fraud has made it accessible for low character people to run for office.
Yes, and if you say something about voter fraud, you get called a denier and snubbed and laughed at by the mainstream media and the left and all that. Oh, it's the best ever, you know.
And gee, doesn't that go hand in hand? Because if they're saying it, then we believe the opposite. They are afraid of voter fraud. That's why they're afraid of stopping voter fraud. That's why.
Well, their actions would say that. Yes.
I will tell you what. Men lay under white headstones to give the people of America the right to vote. Yep. That sacred thing, the right to vote. Yep. And I will tell you, voter fraud, if you are caught, should be punishable by death.
Well, Mike, you're a little more aggressive than I am, but I think there should be punishment.
Well, yeah. Men have died. Men are dead under white headstones. When you go and you have your parades on the 4th of July, yeah. You go on Memorial Day, you go on Veterans Day, you look at the white headstones. They died for one reason: for freedom, and that freedom is to keep the vote.
Right.
Because they died, those privates died. Those privates were yanked out of life to not have families, to not have grandchildren.
Yep.
Voter fraud is treason.
I'm not disagreeing with it. It's heinous, but I'm disagreeing with the death penalty. But we need to have integrity, because if there's no integrity, my vote doesn't count, and you took my vote away, and that's
absolutely
the issue.
The Democrats steal votes,
yeah,
and they can't win without it.
Right.
So, you know, so here's the third Saul Alinsky rules for radicals. So, your vote don't count. The vote don't count. I hear that from so many people, and really, I want to take my fingers, fold them into my fist, and push their facial bone through the back of their head.
Ouch.
Because your vote is as sacred as you take in the communion on Sunday.
Right. And that's why it should be protected by making sure there's no fraud. There's no nonsense. And
we are in the position. Go ahead.
No, as I say, we've worked as a country to make it so easy to vote. We don't want any obstacle, including fraud, to stop us from getting it to vote as many times as we want. And that's what the left stands for. You know, register on the same day. You don't have to show ID. Right. You can vouch for neighbors. You name the silly, stupid rules that just open up the door to unlimited fraud. Whether or not it happens is immaterial. We know it's happening. And we also know that you've opened it up and made it available to happen. And that's what needs to stop. And I can't believe, the United States citizens, I think it's 85% want voter integrity. You know, they want the voter ID. But the Democrat Party is unified in saying, we don't care what the voters want. We're going to say no.
Well, I think it's higher. I think that it's what the media is reporting. When the media is reporting loss, they pull low. So I think you should add 10 to the top number and subtract 10 from the bottom number.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things I can't believe is they say, well, the country is 250 years old. I can't believe we can't get this voting thing straight after 250 years.
Well, it's been better at times in our history, but there's always been fraud. But I think we have more of it now, and it's more organized.
It needs to be perfect. Well, just like you pay your taxes on the 15th of April. Just like you have to have a driver's license. It needs to be perfect.
I think
the fact that
we're one of the worst in the West, I think. In the West. Now, you know, communist countries and all that, they're all controlled. But I think we're one of the worst. There's a lot of countries out there that have a better system than we do.
Here's another thing. I'm comfortable with paying. I don't care if the gas prices went up to $10. and Trump is in power. Now, I'll tell you what. Anybody who's filling up their gasoline today and from now on, you think of that's voter fraud is the reason why we're dealing with this shit today. I'm sorry, I swear.
Yeah.
You know, we're dealing with Iran for 49 years.
Yeah.
And that includes Ronald Reagan didn't do anything.
Well, he did have some
40
kinetic attacks. He sank half their Navy in the 80s. Ronald Reagan did. But they backed off.
You know,
they backed off and he let it go.
When you don't be pissed off when you're filling your gasoline tank. Say to yourself, this is because of Democrat voter fraud. This is because of the low character that voter fraud has allowed us to be under.
Yeah.
That's what I say when I'm standing at the pump. So there's a purpose for this, and Trump is going to fix it. You can take that to the bank.
I want it done, Fister. I am impatient, Mike. I mean, I'm patient, but I'm edgy. I'd like to go in and finish this thing. I know we can.
You know, when I say you, I'm not saying you directly. I'm not attacking you.
Oh, I understand. You're talking people in general.
Yeah, you know. So, you know, anybody who's sitting out there and saying, oh, the gas price is Trump, you should be looking at that and not saying Trump, saying the Democrat Party caused this. The rhinos caused this.
Well,
The low character of our leaders because of voter fraud causes. He is stopping it.
It is what it is, but I want it over quickly if I can. You know, we need to get back to real business and quit playing around with these guys that are jerking off the whole world. The whole world, man. They're affecting the price for everybody. You
know, you were commenting on the fact that the people of Iran should rise up. It's the same thing like the Mexicans in Mexico. The mullahs and the drug cartels have such a stranglehold on the people. They can't. And if there's ever a time to put boots on the ground, you would finish that in 3 days. And
I don't know. It's a country twice the size of Texas, and they're embedded all over the place. It would take, I don't know. I hope we never put boots on the ground. I hope we don't have to.
You know what? We may have to, but I'll tell you what. This is the best time to be a soldier. People should, and of course, you look at the roles just 2 years ago. The military was empty. Right now, they're turning people away.
Well, they're meeting their quotas plus. Yeah, the Army is 103, 104%.
The best time to be in the military, to break things and shoot things and, you know, destroy things. Unleash us and let us go over there and end this. But he's not doing that because of the pressure of the Democrat Party and the rhinos. They don't want victory. They don't want this man to have victory.
Well,
if he has victory, they're going to lose in the election.
That I agree with, but I don't think that's driving his decision. I think his decision is being driven on the world stage, that he doesn't want to look like a tyrant, that people want to discuss things. He's going to show that he's willing to discuss. But at some point, the whole world's got to realize. And he's already stated it was Saudi Arabia, it was Qatar, and it was American Emirates and Qatar that actually, Kuwait, that actually talked him into to giving them a chance to help with the negotiations behind the scenes. But I hope we've come to an end to that. I hope that's over. Because he wants those neighbors to be on his side. I mean, he needs them in order to make sure that Iran stays in good shape after this thing's over. It's going to take the neighbors to keep it in control.
Well, we don't talk about politics. We don't talk about religion, and our vote doesn't count. That's all Saul Alinsky's BS, and we need to turn that.
Agreed.
And this thing about these data things creating heat. How many air conditioners are in Yuma? I mean, in the state of Arizona,
tens of thousands. But look, the fact is that this university in Arizona had come out with some paper saying it's happening, even though it hasn't been peer reviewed, even though they haven't given any details on how they came to these conclusions. I haven't seen any papers on it, and it's preliminary. But they say it could raise it by 2 degrees, which is just plain crap. But I'm telling you, I know smart people, one of them I work with, that says, no, Russ, it's true. Because it takes so much power. I mean, they say the power of a data center, a big one, is about 25,000 households. Well, we got more than 25,000 households in Yuma that are,
Sure.
and we're not raising our temperature by 2 degrees. That's crazy.
It was the same thing about global warming.
I know.
Al Gore said that we were supposed to be living in houseboats by now.
Yeah.
But here's another Saul Alinsky thing. You skulls full of mush. If you have a college education, you're probably an idiot.
Well, I hate to frame it like that, but you got a big chance.
Yeah. If you have a college education, you didn't go into rocket science or brain surgery, you're probably an idiot, especially if you have an Ivy League college education. What a waste of humanity that is.
I have a college education, but it's accounting and business. But
okay, I'll put a caveat on that. After a certain,
I appreciate
after a certain period.
But I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. There's a lot of liberal arts out there that really learn nothing useful that's going to help them in career path necessarily, unless it's a DEI administrator. It's unfortunate. And I think Charlie Kirk was right that half of the people in college shouldn't be there.
Well, you have to understand what the purpose of a college education is.
Yeah,
and the unfortunate thing is it's so expensive.
It is.
But all that a college education means, if you're not a brain surgeon or you're not a rocket scientist, is that you had the discipline and the organization to do such a thing. But you can't say that now because it's so damn expensive to get that.
But
what did you pay?
Barack Obama made it easy to borrow the money. He took that over. He took it over and said, borrow the money. And the college expenses went way up after that because there was so much money flowing, what I would assume. And he didn't say he had to pay it back right away. People don't think that at that age. Like, I'll worry about that when the time comes. And they put themselves in horrible debt. They get an education that doesn't mean anything as far as earning and living, or they don't get an education at all. They drop out and still have that big debt hung around their neck. It's been terrible.
How much did you pay for your college education, your 4 years?
I paid it as I went. I never needed the money because I went to a state school, Delaware State University, and it was a couple grand a year. A year,
it isn't that today. It's $50,000 for a basket weaving education. And some of those people turn basket weaving into a 6-year attempt.
Well, see, I worked full time. I lived at home at time, or I bought a place and lived off campus. And I worked, and I made plenty of money to pay my education at the same time and not have to borrow a dime. And I lived meagerly. I was freshly married and went through it. And everyone could do that today. You could do it at AWC. AWC is $25 a credit hour. And then they will give you that money back if you sign up for a 4-year degree after you graduate. It's amazing programs here. Amazing.
I'm attacking that study that says it's increasing the temperature 2 degrees and it's coming from ASU.
You should attack it. I think it's garbage.
Yeah.
But I don't know where they tested it. They could have tested it 2 feet away from their air handler. It doesn't really say.
Well, they probably tested it with the computer model, which is what the climate change thing is all about. A computer model, a computer said.
You know what they said that they could look at it with these cameras, infrared cameras or something that can see heat, and there was a heat plume around them. Well, of course there is. There's a heat plume around my dog, but it doesn't. He's not raising the temperature in my backyard.
Sure.
It's just kind of silly.
Just if you hear anybody talking against the data center, you really should turn on your attack, your bulldog attack, and get in their face.
Oh, I do, but I have people get in my face.
I'm not saying you, sir. I know. You're
talking about everybody. Everybody should do that. You're right. You're right.
Yes, I mean, it's like you still see people with masks on their face.
Yeah.
And I want to go up to them and say, "How stupid are you?" But mostly they're the elderly, and I'm not going to say anything to that innocence. But my God, you still have people who still wear a mask.
I have a theory why ASU came out with this heat thing. My theory is that the big thing about data centers, at least one of the big things, was that they use millions of gallons of water a day. Now, there are some that use evaporative coolers in order to heat, and they use million gallons or so. It's, those exist. But the new ones that they're building now, they're just like a radiator in a car. They fill them up once. They're not even using water. I mean, I know a friend of mine was opening one in Virginia, and it was a gel that goes in there, and that gel's a better transference of heat than water. And that gel only has to be replaced once every 8 years. But there is no water usage. So if you take the water usage out, they had to find something. They said, well, then it's heat. It's heat now. It's raising the temperature of your city. And that's, I think, why it came out like that. And it's not been peer reviewed. It hasn't been rechecked.
Well, let's talk about the water. So, okay. Well, what does science say? Water is the universal solvent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, so water goes into these plants, and then where does it go? Does it disappear?
Well, yeah, they use evaporation in order to cool everything, so they're evaporating it into the atmosphere. But it's going to rain somewhere and come back down, of course.
If there's one thing that you may want to say, probably going to cause more rain. People think, that when they say, oh, Yuma, they say, oh, you live in a desert. And you say, no, we don't live in a desert. Actually, we live in a tropical desert because we have the water from the ocean and from the Gulf of California there. That makes this more of a moist
Yeah,
heat.
we're still considered arid. Our average humidity is still down there, but we have water available. You're right. Water available. It's just not in the air. Believe me, I lived in Florida for a number of years. I didn't know what it was like to be dry until I moved out. Well, Denver first. Denver's arid also. It's a high desert. And there's no moisture in the air here compared to Florida. I guarantee you.
So, people, come on. We have our foot on the neck of stupidity, which is the Democrat Party.
Yeah.
Let's break it. Let's break it once for all. Let's cut off their oxygen. And when people start talking stupid, remind them that they're stupid. Let's put shame back into society.
You're right. We need to stand up and say it's not true.
You wear your people wear their intellect on their sleeve. Today, people wear their stupidity on the sleeve, and they're proud of it. There's never been a time in history when humanity was so proud to be stupid.
But Mike, the people that are spewing it are absolutely believing it. They're believing it because they want to believe it. And we need to listen to them, listen to their argument, and then tell them it's wrong. But you're right. We got to tell them it's wrong. We can't just accept it.
I'm violating my own statistics because that group of people is only 2%. And I'll tell you what, Trump said it. He listened to me. Trump repeated what I said, and I've never talked to the man. He said that the country is divided 98% to 2%. He actually used those numbers. And I thought, I fell out of my seat. I had to call everybody that I know and say it. But, they are that much of a minority running roughshod over that much of a majority.
I love Trump, but he's subject to hyperbole, man. He is.
Hey, I believe in what he said. But those three things, those three Saul Alinsky things, we have to get rid of, and that's the reason why the 2% is so big. That's why I say we should hire Nancy Pelosi to lead the Republican Party because she knows how to fight.
She's a professional liar. Can't trust her. And when you say 2%, unfortunately, it's 100% minus one of all the legislatures in Congress. 100% of all the Democrats are going to be in that bubble of all these issues that nobody wants. And their own reports that dissected the 24 election told them so. And they say, no, that's not true because I know it's not true. That's it. That's it. It's just kind of amazing to me that they're not listening.
And of course, you have to be careful. But Marjorie Taylor Greene just accused Trump of wanting to be a dictator.
Yep.
How the hell do you go from what she said last year to this point today that he wants to be a dictator?
She's an angry politician that feels wronged, and she'll say whatever it takes to get some kudos, and that kudos is all coming from the left right now. So she's got to join that. She's got to join that party, if it's not with registration, but at least with rhetoric.
Well, we need to find that 40% of Republicans who took the time to register
Yeah.
and who aren't voting. We need to find those people and get them out, because this is one of the most important. This is more important than a general election.
We'll be looking
What's
for
going to
them.
happen?
Yeah, we'll be looking
So-
for them. Everybody needs to do their
Yeah,
part. Make sure you take your neighbor with you when you go vote.
By the nose.
I'm more gentle than you, but yeah, take them. All right, buddy.
Yeah. You have a good day, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye. That was Mike. A little more aggressive than me, but he's not wrong on his assertion that the things that need to happen and all. Completely agree. Let me check my phone real quick. Okay. A dozen celebrities made a surprise appearance on Stephen Colbert's last day. I don't know if you saw that on The Late Show. He's getting a lot of attention. And keep in mind, Stephen Colbert's been on for a long time. I think he's terrible myself. He's not funny. He has 200 writers. 200 writers on that show. That for a 1 hour show, I think. 200 of them. And the company loses $40 million a year on his show because the viewership is down. There's no advertising to cover the huge overhead. He never has a conservative guest on. In the last year or so, I think he's had one, but it was like Liz Cheney or something like that, which is a registered conservative, but not a spokesman for a conservative party by any means. Well, his last show came up, so we had a dozen guests. Surprise, come on. I mean, it wasn't to surprise them. I'm sure the 200 writers wrote it in. It's going to put 200 people out of work that probably need to get out in the real world a little bit and see that. Let me take a phone call. Sandy, good morning.
Good morning. Mike sure is right.
Yeah, he is.
Anyway, I thought I'd add to that. Always remember Al Gore put out a book and a movie, and 100% of his predictions have turned out to be wrong.
Yeah, it was only 100%.
So to me, 100% of them. Now, what's really sad is there were high school science teachers, I know for sure in Yuma,
yeah,
and probably all across the country, showed that farce to their kids.
Inconvenient
They
truth.
must have believed it, but
Right.
it's just too bad because it corrupted their thinking. But I called about something else, and I had to be away from listening to your program for a little bit, so
Sure.
you might have already covered this.
What's that?
But yesterday, the Senate Senate Republicans got angry and picked up their toys and left town, not to come back till June. They're not going to even pass the ICE and Border Patrol bill because they're so angry. You know, this is what they're angry about. Todd Blanche went to talk to him about the anti-weaponization fund.
Uh-huh.
And this is the latest that Trump wrote this morning. I gave up a lot of money in allowing the just announced anti-weaponization fund to go forward. I could have settled my case, including the illegal release of my tax returns and the equally illegal break-in of Mar-a-Lago for an absolute fortune. Instead, I am helping others who were so badly abused by an evil, corrupt, and weaponized Biden administration receive a long-last justice, President Trump.
Yep.
And I agree with President Trump basically because we've spent time studying what some of these people went through. And I can still remember back to the first administration where people came in to work with Trump, and they used the Russia collusion to force these people to come in and testify over something that was a hoax. and these people had to pay for lawyers. Well, similarly, during Biden, not just January 6 people, but administration people, they went after. And what President Trump and his sons decided to do when the settlement was made with IRS is they decided to turn their opportunity for compensation over to Americans.
Yep.
And we've got some Republicans that are pissed off about that. And they're so angry that they're just not going to allow this to happen. And so my thing is, every Republican should believe that the government should compensate people when it's the government that has wronged them.
Correct.
And I'm angry that some of these Republicans don't understand that.
And when you say all the Senate went home, they did, but that was John Thune mostly. I mean, that's the guy that makes the calls. He's the president.
He's also pissed off because Trump did not endorse. Can't remember his name. Endorsed
Colbert.
Paxton instead.
Yeah,
Say his name.
Was it Colbert or so? Colburn?
Cornyn, right?
Cornyn.
He didn't endorse Cornyn.
Correct. And
so he's pissed off about that.
Yeah.
And he's so pissed he doesn't want to get rid of the filibuster, and so angry he doesn't want to help pass the Save America Act, which Mike talked about that too.
But he forgot who he's working for. You look at the people that put him in power and the people that are the voters and all that. They want these things. They want them. I mean, he doesn't want them because
Correct.
Trump wants them. But it's not about Trump. It's about the country. Trump is championing what the people want. And they're losing sight.
Correct.
They're losing sight.
And that's why the people that analyze, sometimes they don't understand, this is so terrible that Trump's endorsements are, winning 100%. That's not always true. But what they don't understand is that we see a guy that's working for the American people. Not for me necessarily personally on the weaponization, because weaponization wasn't used on me. But I don't like the injustice of our government doing that to Americans.
Yeah.
And he understands that. He gave up his compensation, and his sons did too, because I guess their tax returns were released too. Gave up their compensation just for an apology. That's all they're going to get, to try to help others. And these Republicans, and it's not all of them, it's just a few of them, some in the House, some in the Senate, are so clueless, so out of touch. They don't realize it'd be the right thing to do. Instead, they were yelling, it's going to cause us to lose the election.
Right.
How foolish. The people that help them win elections are the people that support President Trump.
Right.
So anyway, it is a problem that they don't get it. The only thing I thought, maybe Todd Blanche shouldn't have gone and talked to him, so they'd gone ahead and got that bill passed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it wouldn't matter, but I got to hear short, and I sent it to you.
Yeah.
And he explained it beautifully. Everything he said was just right on. It's the right thing to do.
Right. And it's not because of Trump, but it's because Trump's championing what the voters want. That's it.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that people that understand now, the left, the Democrats, the reason I don't think that any of them need to be in power now, because they're definitely TDS, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Is even Jeffries came out and he says, we want to win an election and we want to destroy their souls.
Yeah.
They're such bullies.
Yeah.
They're just really, really awful people that they were okay with, for instance, the information from senators on their phones was taken without their knowing. They're okay with that. They're okay with that bullying. They're okay with people being thrown in for jail for just walking into the wrong location when it should have just been a fine.
But you're right you're right on all of it, Sandy. But it's deeper than that. They're okay with assassination attempts. I mean, they've done some scary polling numbers.
That's true.
Scary polling numbers that they think that's acceptable behavior. That
right.
Is assassination and the assassination of that healthcare executive by Luigi. They accept that also. I mean, in high numbers, it's not 100%, but it's high numbers. that the left accepts that as a good outcome because he was a bad man. So,
and why was he a bad man according to them?
he made money on the suffering of other people because they didn't get the health care they should have gotten. He was a businessman.
See, and that's just ridiculous, illogical, and I know you know that.
Yeah, oh yeah, but I appreciate you repeating it. It doesn't make sense. But the fact that we've got leaders that aren't challenging that, and I mean Democratic leaders that are accepting those things, even if some of them saying it themselves, that it's putting us in scarier and scarier times, more ferociously crazy times, and violent times. And we need to put a stop to it.
That's why they shouldn't be in power. That's why it's real important, and I agree with you that I'd like to see the Iran war over soon, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, well, Trump
but
does
I
too.
also know, I know he does, but I know it also has to be done right. I heard someone make a suggestion yesterday, or I read it somewhere. They said, why not maybe attack a power plant, wait a certain number of hours, see if they say I give up, and if they don't, go ahead and blow up a bridge. I guess I should use that instead of attack. Like blow up the next one, wait a few hours, see if they say, and just keep doing that.
Yeah.
Just gradually, just. And I thought, oh, and that was just from I think a regular person I read it from. It wasn't like. And I thought, boy, that sounds commonsensical.
If they flip,
so maybe there's some.
If they flip this switch, though, I get the impression that they were doing 1,000 bombs a day in the first one. They say this is going to be double that. I mean, it may go a day or two and then say, how do you like it? But I don't think it's just going to be one bridge or one power plant. I think they're going to go a day or two, and it's probably going to be
no. But this guy's point, or it could have been a lady, was basically. Just hit one at a time, and you just wait a few hours to see their reaction if they say I give.
There's still military targets to take out, and they know more now because they've been gathering intelligence and they've been watching, like when a drone takes off or a missile takes off, they see what mountain range it came from and what location it came from. So they've got these newer targets registered now too. And some more intelligence registered. So I'm sure they've got a lot of stuff programmed, ready to go. So before they even hit infrastructure, I'm sure they could do a couple days of just continued smashing military capability.
See, and I don't think the left is capable of understanding that. Like you explained beautifully, these guys are not just sitting back twiddling their thumbs.
No,
they're constantly monitoring.
And they're repairing stuff.
And President Trump's being informed constantly.
Correct. Oh gosh, take it. I'm sure they've got boots on the ground somewhere, for information purposes, either through Israel or some other country. But I'm sure they've got and then they get some information out, probably. And a lot of the military, and my understanding on the military targets, they sent some ships into the Strait of Hormuz as targets. They thought, they're going to look like sitting ducks, even though they're well protected that with stuff they don't see. And but they open up the caves at that point to make shots, and they've got all these aircraft and things in the air that are instantly zooming in on where they're located, putting them in the GPS, and these targets are loaded. They're ready on a lot of these things to go because they're well underground, they're well under rock, but they can go in the doorway. They can bomb. They can bomb the doorways, and that gets inside and can be devastating. We have amazing ability to do those kind of things. So, if we turn it back on, you're going to see a lot of bombs in weird places because that's where they're dug in.
Well, Mike was right to bring up Mexico too. I just wish the leadership would let us get in there and help get rid of some of the cartels. I'm going to have to say goodbye because I'm going to start coughing.
Okay, take care.
So goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That was Miss Sandy. Yeah, as far as the Mexico thing, Sheinbaum, President Sheinbaum, she's got to have some working relationship with the cartels, or she probably would have already not existed. It's dangerous in Mexico. I don't know what that is. I have no idea. But many people that are involved in that kind of stuff think that she does, and that it's not that easy. She can't just invite him in. I mean, I think she would expose herself terribly. I don't know the answer on Mexico, but I know Trump has offered to go in and assist militarily with the Mexican army, the Mexican police, to attack some of these plants producing narcotics and some of these cartel strongholds and stuff. And she absolutely resisted, and I would imagine she has to. But I don't know the answer. I don't know how it's all going to end up. And that she's in a precarious. She gets elected because the cartels let her get elected. But I don't, it's a situation that needs to be fixed. Smarter minds than me are going to have to fix it, but I don't think Scheinbaum's ever going to invite us in there. I mean, Trump has been shot at 3 times or 3 attempted assassinations. To my knowledge, she's had none, and that's a very dangerous place. And there's a lot of powerful people that have abilities beyond probably Scheinbaum's, service that protects her. And the fact she's still walking around means that the cartels are still happy somehow. That's my opinion anyway. They're not. And she can't invite them. If she invited Trump in, she probably would have the Capitol attacked. I mean, I've heard estimates before that the cartels combined have more military than the military does. I mean, as far as military, personnel or people that are trained militarily within the cartel. So, dangerous place, really, very dangerous. I'm going to talk about AI again because it's going to be a constant as more and more uses and more application of AI is coming in. This has to do with beehives. Now, if you pay attention to the news for the last few decades, beehives have been under attack. Beehives have been losing population. And sometimes it's a mystery. Sometimes they know what it is, but they seem to be dying off. These colonies of bees have been collapsing, and we rely on bees and beehives because they pollinate our vegetables and fruits and flowers and everything else. And we wouldn't have this agriculture without the beehives. We depend on them, so we got to keep them alive. Well, now there's AI-powered robotic beehives, which had to happen, right? Not robotic bees yet, but robotic beehives. And at first, I thought it sounded weird, but when I studied a little bit, it made sense. Well, the future of the U.S. food supply is what's at stake here. It's the Angeline development in Land O'Lakes that became the first master plan community to install bee-wise automated bee home systems. They use robotics sensors, artificial intelligence to monitor hive health. And that way they can protect the colonies from environmental threats. And these are environmental threats that are killing off these beehives. As the bee populations across the United States continue facing pressure from parasites, pesticides, disease, extreme weather conditions, which the experts are saying that's what's been threatening the bees and threatening agriculture all at the same time. According to Steve Peck, he's the Bee-Wise managing director. Bees pollinate roughly 75% of the crops we eat and about 80% of flowering plants around the world. Without bees, our food supply is in jeopardy. The community relies, and this community that they built relies on bees to pollinate the 2.5-acre farm that helps supply produce used throughout the development. The bee home system uses internal cameras, so I guess they're watching the bees, and sensors, robotic components, inspect hives, identify problems that traditionally require manual beekeeper oversight. The robots know when it is in the framework where it is in the hive at any point. It can pick it up just like a beekeeper would if there's a problem, inspect it, report back to the technicians around the world. It monitors the queen health, the egg production, infestations from varroa mites. And I guess varroa mites are one of the the things that has been wiping out bee colonies. And that is the leading cause of colony collapse amongst honeybee population. Well, the technology responds immediately and automatically when the hive threats are detected. So it doesn't, if it's a beekeeper, they're going to notice a decrease in population or something. By then it's, they've lost a lot of the hive. Says we can treat them within the hive by moving them to a new part of the home that raises the temperature. It's enough to kill the mites, but not the bees. And then we can prevent the colony collapse and have shown basically a 70% reduction of what we're seeing, a 70% reduction of bee loss, which pretty significant numbers. And right now, the technology is already operating in hundreds of thousands of acres of agricultural land nationwide. Systems designed to support, not replace traditional beekeepers. And I think they had to put that in there because there is this fear that robots and AI is displacing everybody. And it's fair. It's fair to have that concern. It's fair. Because in some cases, they're going to put people out. And maybe they put out some beehive people. Maybe they don't need as many. They need less. I don't know. I'm not in that business. Although I have moved beehives before. I had a friend in Dover, Delaware that had bees and moved beehives. I went with them to move the beehives. And it was kind of nerve-wracking at first because I was afraid of being stung. And I didn't have a bee suit and he didn't wear one. He didn't wear a veil or any of that stuff. Just a pair of gloves. And I had a pair of gloves. And we were supposed to carry these things, put it on a trailer, move it down the road and put them into a new farmland. And that's how bee people make their money because they move the bees to pollinate the thing. And I thought we'd be stung as soon as we tried to pick one up, but they burn some pine needles. I think we were picking up pine needles, putting it in some kind of bellows type machine, and it just they pull a handle on it, and it forces air into the burning embers, and that smoke causes the bees to run home, get inside the beehive, and start loading up on honey because they think they're going to have to evacuate, due to a fire. So they keep tricking them. They trick the bees to go home. So the bees go inside, and then we pick them up while they're inside and move them to a new location, set it down. The smoke dissipates, and they go back about business, about doing what bees do, I guess. I never got stung. We picked up a lot of bees flying all around. And it kind of surprised me. I don't think it's something I want to do for a living, though. Lisa Gibbons with the Metro Development Group said every day bees run the risk of being destroyed due to just the weather and elements and pesticides. And concern over declining bee population has drawn increased national attention in recent years, including expanding beekeeping efforts to the White House. Melania Trump added a new bee colony to the White House grounds as part of an expanded pollinator of honey production program. Wow. So it's good to hear that we're not going to go without bees because bees are critical, and we're using robotics, sensors, cameras, and AI. Hence, we need more, and we need more data centers to run the farms. We need a data center to run the farm, as well as everything else. It looks like it's coming to that. But that's gonna greatly improve. I guess it would if you've got more bees, you're gonna make sure that the farms are gonna be healthier and have better yields, I would imagine, or farmers wouldn't pay money to have those bees out there. Obviously, I guess there's not enough natural bees to take care of the large amount of farming we do. They bring them in. If you know what a beehive looks like, you'll see them standing out those little boxes, standing out on farm fields all the time. Yeah, don't go messing with them. They will bite you if you don't know how to handle them. Chicago politicians are going to work right now because of the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears, which has been in Chicago since 1921. They've been the Bears since 21 in Chicago. Well, Chicago's already said they're leaving. Yeah, they're leaving. It doesn't really say why, and I would have liked to have seen that, but they want to build a new stadium, and they don't I guess Chicago doesn't have it available, or the riverfront available, or the location available. So they're looking at Arlington Heights, Illinois, and Hammond, Indiana. Well, the Chicago politicians don't want to lose the Bears. It's kind of an icon right there in Chicago, but they haven't done the work. They haven't worked with the owners and gotten a location approved and a location set up. They're too busy supporting homelessness. Yeah, they support homelessness. They're not trying to fix it. They support homelessness and illegal immigration and fighting ICE to really work on things that help the city. And I think teams like Chicago Bears help the city. They bring in a tremendous amount of travel and vacationers and entertainment, and a lot of money gets spent in town, and there's a lot of taxes paid when you get a big major league like that. Those are big dollars that start coming in. But they've already announced they're leaving the city. The team's statement is that the team has been clear with the city of Chicago and state leaders. There are only 2 viable stadium locations under consideration, Arlington Heights and Hammond. And a decision is expected between the 2 later this spring or early summer. So we're kind of past spring. We're already in early summer, I would think. So I think it's coming quickly. Roger Goodell, of course, he's the NFL commissioner. There is a report on all of the stadium projects. We're in the midst of what we would call a very significant stadium construction period and/or significant renovations. And if they've been around since 21, I don't know how old the stadium is in Chicago, where the Bears play, but these new stadiums are tremendous. As far as just technology and stuff that goes into them, and comfort, bathrooms, all the stuff, and the stuff that goes with them. The newer ones are phenomenal. Well, there was a specific update on the Bears with respect to the 2 sites they are evaluating that are viable in the Bears' mind and others in ours. One in Illinois, one in Indiana. That process is going on. The legislature in Illinois is obviously focused on that. They're getting into the final days of their season. I've spoken to the governor recently. I think there's a focus on trying to get something done there. And then they'll have 2 viable sites that the Bears can make their decision from. And what he's talking about, they've already got 2 viable sites. But he means 2 within Illinois. You see, Chicago, now that the timeline is run out almost, they're going to work on it now. Apparently, the Chicago politicians are not done. They're this article, the opinion was that they know how to throw some sucker punches. Illinois Governor Senator Bill Cunningham talked to the Chicago Tribune on Wednesday that the Chicago legislators are trying to throw a wrench in the machinery of moving the Arlington Heights project legislation along. So there is legislation for the Arlington Heights program, for some reason, because it's got government funding, and some of that there's loans or guarantees or something. I don't know, and that's generally the case for any of these stadiums, that the local government does get involved in helping these major projects. It says by virtue of the fact that the Bears did outreach to the city as of late April, that has given credence to the mayor's claim that a lakefront site is still viable. Lakefront that's in Chicago is still viable. That has helped him to convince Chicago legislators to move slowly to give a city a better chance at a new lakefront plan and not support the Arlington Heights site, which I guess it's Illinois is fighting against Illinois. Keep in mind, Hammond and Indiana exist. That's not controversial, that other than Chicago thinks it's controversial. We don't want to lose it, make the Indiana Bears. Well, the Chicago legislators are undercutting other Illinois legislatures to finish the work on the bill that would keep the Bears in the state. In other words, in Arlington. There's a bill going through that would put them in Arlington, and I guess state legislatures have to approve it. So they're dragging their feet on it until time runs out. They don't want it to go there to Arlington Heights, because they think there's a chance they can talk them into staying in the city and taking it lakefront. They could make it available for them. Well, there's a May 31st deadline to finalize the Arlington Heights work. That's the deadline. They've already told us May 31st. The only other tangible choice is Indiana right now. I know there's a pipe dream that it's going to stay in Chicago, but they've already said it won't. So the state legislators put together a package to help the Bears fund a new stadium, and Governor Mike Braun signed the bill into law. And that's the Indiana side. It's already been signed. They've already got a signed deal in Indiana. If it's agreed to, they can just move. So Illinois right now is fighting amongst themselves, stopping the legislation that would keep the Bears in Illinois, but not in Chicago, in hopes they could talk them into staying in Chicago. But by moving slowly, they're probably going to lose them. They're probably going to lose it for the whole state. And that's the politicians in Illinois. They would rather lose it than not have it in Chicago. And then they would lose the Bears. And that's what that's what the people of Illinois deserve, because they put those people into power that are doing this crap. Oh, one of my lists, I talked about data centers and about the heat. And of course, ASU did some study that says it's raising temperatures, and they published it long before it's been fact-checked or long before it's been peer-reviewed and checked all that. My listener says, can any study be referenced that shows that data centers don't create heat islands? Independent studies from either advocates or opponents? Probably not. Probably not. I mean, there hasn't been a rational reason to do it. I mean, and it's brand new on the front right now that they're coming out with this claim that it's a heat island. I don't mind looking at it. It's not a problem with looking at it, but I think first, this study that shows there is a heat island, or it says it's really raising the city. I mean, people get the impression it's raising it for the whole city, and that's the way it was written up, at least the way I read it. And that's why the data needs to be explored on what they've got, because they said it didn't even matter which way the wind blowed. There was this plume of heat. I guarantee you there is. Yeah. You could, if you had heat sensing equipment, you can find a human body in the woods. So, because there's a heat plume. So, would there be one on a building? I guarantee you there is. I guarantee you there was one on the hospital. There's one on every building. And to say that it's heating up the whole city, crazy. And then, of course, people will tell you, like, look, they use so much electricity. As much as 25,000 homes. Correct. Probably true. I mean, depending on the size of the data center, a large one would use as much as 25,000 homes, not 25,000 homes. So that means that 25,000 homes in a city is raising the city by 2 degrees. I don't think there's any information that would support any of that. Do people do studies on that? I doubt it. I mean, we know that the city of Phoenix is increased in heat. We know that. And it's being blamed on asphalt and concrete, which radiates heat instead of absorbing it. And that's massive amounts of heat that have done that. And of course, it does it during the daytime, and it does it at certain layers and all that kind of stuff. So we know that whole notion that Yuma's hotter than Phoenix isn't true anymore. Phoenix is hotter now because they've concreted Phoenix over completely, almost. And they've made it to where the ground doesn't get so yeah, it does that. And so what, should they do away with all the concrete? And does that concrete produce less or more heat than this one building of the data center? I would venture to guess you a lot. It would generate a lot less, but I don't have any proof because I haven't seen their proof yet. And a lot of times those things are peer reviewed, and then scientifically they get redone. The measurements are redone or rechecked and with other people to see if they can duplicate the results. But they're not really giving the results. They just say, well, when we're close to the building, it goes up. Well, yeah, how close? And how close are you to the heat exchanger? Stand out by your heat exchanger in your backyard where the air conditioner comes out. Tell me if it's not quite a few degrees hotter right next to that. It is, of course. And you're saying that these data centers alone are creating it? That's crap. Is it creating heat? Yes. Is there a heat flume that goes up? Yes. Is it measurable? Yes. Is it changing the temperature of the city? You'd have to do a lot better to convince me than something from this one college that says, they have something that says something, but they're not really. I haven't seen the literature, and I'm sure people will be looking at it and we'll know more once we pick it apart and take a look at it. And they say, they've tested it close and then further away. They don't give you the numbers. They don't say I tested it within 2 inches and then 8 inches, or within 2 feet and 50 feet, or within a quarter mile and 2 miles. They just say close and far. They just let your imagination figure it out. But maybe it's got to be in there somewhere. What they're, how they did it and what they did. But we live in the desert. If you stand next to a metal building, it's hotter. Because it's going to get hot and radiate. I have a metal building at work. If you stand next to the metal building, you feel it because the sun hits it, bakes it. I don't think it's raising the temperature in the neighborhood. But if you have enough metal buildings, maybe it would. Like Phoenix has enough asphalt, made it a little hotter. Data centers are not going to cause global warming. It's just junk. And if it does, and I could get some credible evidence out there, I don't have to disprove anything until I see a study that really proves it. I haven't seen that yet. I saw an article that says it does. I haven't seen it. The White House is firing back at Stephen Colbert's crew, the celebrities. Stephen Colbert's off the air finally. It's been 6 months or so when it was announced that he was done due to ratings and everything. Of course, that's not what this article says, or I say the article. The celebrities that showed up that spoke, it's all Trump's fault. Yeah. Guess like Robert De Niro, Bruce Springsteen, some of the worst of the worst. Robert De Niro, who came on the show, asked a question as part of the Colbert Questioner and asked the host, what number were you thinking of, which was a standard question Colbert asked guests during the questionnaire. And he says, okay, because I thought it would have been 2.5 million or 2.5 million. That's the number of Epstein files Trump hasn't released. So it's his last show, or next to last show. This happened on Wednesday. He comes out to talk about numbers of Epstein files that haven't been released. I don't know what hasn't been released at this point. I know they keep finding more of them. I can't believe there's this many files on one guy. But I don't think anything's been held back. And the fact that Trump has been mentioned in them is ridiculous. I mean, he has been mentioned because Epstein hated him. But Bruce Springsteen also constantly speaks out against the president. He closed the show with his new song, Streets of Minneapolis, which, of course, is anti-ICE. He says, I'm here tonight in support of Stephen because you're the first guy in America who's lost his show because we've got a president who can't take a joke. That's what they're telling people. Steve Colbert didn't lose it because the company is losing $40 million a year, or because his viewership has dropped hugely, or because he's not funny, or because he is strictly in a bubble of the left, doesn't have conservative guests or anything. He lost it because Trump doesn't like him. I think it's a little simplistic, but okay. Larry and David Ellison feel they need to kiss his butt to get what they want. And I guess those must be the leaders of the show, of the network. Stephen, these are small-minded people. They got no idea what the freedoms of this beautiful country are supposed to be about. Yeah, the freedom that if you own a business, you can decide who works there. And the business that owns The Late Show with Stephen Colbert decided, you're not getting the audience. You're not making the money. It's not about freedom that Stephen can work wherever he wants, when he wants to, and do whatever he wants, and that's freedom. No, if you're working within the business area, you gotta work a business model, or you can buy your own TV station and do whatever show you want to do, but you'd be losing a lot of money. Well, the White House hit back and said Stephen Colbert is a pathetic train wreck with no talent and terrible ratings, which is exactly why CBS canceled his show and is booting him off the airwaves. And then on YouTube and others, a lot of people that supported Springsteen think he's just a mad genius, and as well as Robert De Niro and all that. But a great percentage of them talked about him being washed-up musicians and washed-up actors and stuff. So it's a lot of hate out there all over the place. Trump last year, I think, or this year, called Springsteen bad and very boring. Looks like a dried up prune who has suffered greatly from the work of a really bad plastic surgeon, has long had a horrible and incurable case of Trump derangement syndrome, sometimes referred to as TDS. MAGA should boycott his overpriced concerts, which suck. Save your hard-earned money. I'm not going. I haven't been to a concert in many years, so I wouldn't have gone anyway. Some of the guests, Billy Crystal, Mark Hamill. God, he's been a joke. Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker. He's just Trump derangement. And Martha Stewart, Josh Brolin, Jim Gaffigan, Jeff Daniels, Tiffany Haddish, Amy Sedaris, Ben Stiller, Audrey Plaza. I like Audrey. It's too bad. James Taylor, Weird Al Yankovic. They mentioned James Taylor twice. Maybe he came on twice. John Dickinson and Colbert's wife. Last one, but he's gone. So sad for the left. It's kind of a wake. Yeah, kind of a wake they had. They could all feel sad for him. Jersey Shore. Jersey Shore is a beach town that had this television series. Jersey Shore was done there, on the Jersey Shore. I didn't watch it, but I'm familiar with it. It was pretty popular. It's officials in Seaside Heights have had enough of the young kids coming in that storm it up, and they do these pop-up parties. They call them pop-up parties. The mayor, Tommy Vaz, has had enough of it. He says, last year, we prepared ourselves, and we thought we did a pretty good job. Until that weekend, the number of young people that came was unbelievable. And it's not that they're anti-young people. These young people are coming, and they think that, during these parties, the rules don't apply, the laws don't apply. We can jump on cars, block traffic, raise mayhem, get in fights, shoot guns, all that stuff, which is kind of amazing. But in 2025, around 100,000 people visited Seaside Heights for the holiday. And this is Memorial Day. It's coming up. That's how they celebrate Memorial Day, is they jump on the hood of cars. According to newjersey.com, authorities ultimately made more than 70 arrests over the course of the weekend, including 21 minors. And the boardwalk was temporarily shut down after 3 separate stabbing incidences. 1 year earlier, the false reports of gunfire reported led to chaos and sent swarms of teens fleeing the packed beaches. Well, Seaside Heights officials have requested FBI support, SWAT teams, Homeland Security agents, mounted state troopers, and an increase in roving officers to take to the beaches on Memorial Day weekend. So obviously this isn't a sanctuary city. In New Jersey, I guess they're like, let's make the place safe. Bring in a real show of force, and then maybe you won't need it. Sounds like a great idea. The mayor, Tommy Vaz, says, we're bringing in all our manpower that we have. And with these added law enforcement agencies, we're going to see a strategic plan in place. If somebody puts on social media, come down to Seaside Heights, bring your booze. It doesn't matter if you're 10 years old or 15 or 18, come on down. Our guys spot it right away. So they're monitoring social media, which is good. Additionally, Seaside Heights Police Department has 2 dedicated officers tasked with combing social media in search of planned unsanctioned events. We find that people are doing it, and we put a court injunction. We put a stop to 6 unsanctioned popped-up parties. And that was ahead of Memorial Day weekend. So I guess these things start out early. They get wind of it, and they put a sanction on it somehow through the courts and said no. And a lot of places in Yuma too, if you want to have a party and on one of the properties, like the parks and recreation properties, you have to go reserve a gazebo, and if you have a larger number of people, you have to pay for, a permit and all that. I'm sure they're doing the same. So these unsanctioned ones, non-permitted ones that they just do pop-ups. They're putting a stop to it because they got out of control, created stabbings, and created bad things, a lot of arrests and stuff. It's happening in suburban areas. It's happening in other states. We look at it as a problem with enforcement. Consequences for young people that have been disrespect. Any good kid can come down and find himself with a group and get involved. So in an effort to send a message to any minors planning to descend on the Jersey Shore for a weekend of lawbreaking and recklessness, the mayor, Vaz, is vowing to prosecute both the offending child and their parents. So we brought the parents in. Well, I like that trend. I mean, if the parents have knowledge and the parents are sanctioning it, there's a good reason for it. Vaz says, it's the kid that says, you can make me leave and you can't do anything to me because I'm not 18. Well, guess what? We're going to do something to you. We're going to summon you and summon your parents. This has got to stop, not only in Seaside, but nationwide. Last year, former Governor Phil Murphy signed legislation that holds the parents criminally responsible for their child's behavior. Anyone found to be in violation could face up to 6 months in jail or up to $1,000 in fines. That's going to cause parents to think twice. We've changed ordinances, curfew times, rental facilities to underage children and young people, and so forth. Curfew implemented within the borough prohibits anyone under the age of 18 from being on the streets past 10 o'clock without a guardian. And minors must have an adult present for long-term lodging rentals. So I guess those lodges would get rented by teenagers that would raise havoc, probably tear them up. He added, but in the event of our ordinance, we've approved that the business administrator, with a consultation from myself and chief of police, can change that curfew. We're just hoping that it's a peaceful weekend, and we want people to know that we're a destination with a lot of family activities. We're geared to that now, families, and that's the backbone of our community. So they don't want drunk teenagers anymore that are stabbing each other. Authorities in nearby Wildwood served two promoters with cease and desist orders stemming from alleged unsanctioned events planned for Memorial Day weekend. And those were circulating on social media. The individuals are also expected to be charged with disturbance at a public gathering or inciting these types of unsanctioned takeovers. We've been planning to mitigate the potential public safety concerns associated with these types of unsanctioned takeovers. The very nature of these investigations are very difficult due to the many social media platforms being utilized to promote these unsanctioned takeovers. Unaccompanied minors and announced the boardwalk will be closed to the public year-round from 1 a.m. To 5 a.m. But during these times, it's going to be a curfew of 10 p.m. 6 people. Well, imagine between 1 a.m. and 5 p.m. 5 a.m. 1 a.m. 5 a.m. There's probably no business going on, so nothing good could happen. 6 people were arrested Tuesday night on charges including disorderly conduct, eluding police in connection with another unsanctioned event in Long Beach. So they're going after them. You see, one was in the Pier Village, a sprawling oceanfront community with rental units. After authorities said a large mob of teens was observed inciting brawls, jumping on cars, contributing disorder all across the boardwalk. 139 officers from multiple agencies deployed to the scene as city officials implemented an emergency 8 p.m. curfew in an attempt to send the youngsters home. Videos out there that show dozens of officers, some carrying riot shields, corralling the large group in the middle of the street. And this is before Memorial Day. This is just on approach to Memorial Day. So good for them. I guess there's answers to the mayhem. wanted to talk about this budget. This is the Army budget coming up. It kind of surprised me. The Army budget they're working on the 2027 budget. And, the Army and every agency, government agency, they always put budgets together and they make a lot of requests. And generally those requests are more than last year. Well, this request makes sharp cuts to funding for helicopter procurement, including Apache, which was last year, I guess, $361.7 million in funding for 26. Now it's going to be 1.5 million. So they're going to cut it down to nearly nothing. Blackhawks was funded at 913 million. Now it's going to be 39 million. Chinooks was 629 million, and now it's going to be 200 million. Those are sharp cuts. Those are huge cuts in request on the budget. Quite often these bureaucracies, they request more than they want, maybe, but I guess they're serious about these, that we don't want the investment in helicopters that we've had in the past. Well, the Army's previously announced plans to cut roughly 6,500 active duty aviation positions over a fiscal years 26 and 27. So I guess they've already put this into motion by announcing that aviation positions are going to be cut. That includes pilots, flight crews, and maintainers. Well, these are hugely expensive. I mean, to keep a helicopter in the sky is amazing. The amount of maintenance on it, for every hour of flight, it's like 8 hours of maintenance. They're just maintenance heavy. Amazing airframes, and they do a lot of work, and they're necessary. But they have a lot of wrenches on them. And if you could take those helicopters and fleet and cut it down and still get the job done, I guess that's what they're looking at. And that includes the pilots, flight crews, and maintainers. And they're shifting the resources. They're not asking for less resources. They're just shifting it. Because of the battlefield lessons driving the changes, the battlefield lessons they've learned from Ukraine and Russia, Iran, and all that, I guess the Pentagon is paying attention and adjusting. And I kind of feel good about that. I do feel good about it. And if they say that we want to rely less on these helicopters and more on unmanned vehicles, they're looking for drones. They're going to put more money towards drones, autonomy, and low-cost mass systems. And we see what Ukraine's been able to do. I mean, they got a drone that's been tremendously effective as any of the ballistic missiles and stuff, which, they use those. The Patriots can take down a drone. Sometimes those drones are $20,000. And the missile's $1 million. That's just figure that out. You can't keep that pace. Well, Ukraine comes up with these low-cost drones. It's $1,000. They make it on a 3D printer. It travels 140 knots or 180 or up to 240 knots, which is much faster than most of these drones that are coming in. And it's for $1,000. For $1,000, and it's been highly effective at taking these drones out. It just flies up and either rams them or explodes next to them. And Ukraine has been making, I think, 5,000 a month, and now they say they're capable of 10,000. They're selling them to Saudi Arabia. They're selling them to people all over, and they're replacing these missiles with it, rather than using the THAAD missiles and all these other missiles. They're saving those THAADs for those hypersonic stuff and the cruise missiles and the heavy duty stuff, and all these other light drones, which has been driving them crazy and driving them into bankruptcy. They're just setting up another drone, an anti-drone drone. And they're even launching them from aircraft in Ukraine. Yeah, they put hard points on transporters, and they load them up with these $1,000 drones, and they just pop them off. They fly next to the drone, pop them off, and say, get them. And they've been blowing them up all over the place. They're coming out of Russia. Well, the Pentagon's paying attention. The Assistant Army Secretary, Brent Ingram, says, absolutely, as we look across the aviation portfolio, we're re-looking that. The Army's releasing now traditional manned aircraft fit alongside larger unmanned system increasingly capable of missions once handled by helicopters. The proposed aviation cuts already have drawn concern on Capitol Hill. So Capitol Hill's looking at that, says, well, we don't want change. And maybe, and you got to look at these individual senators and representatives, like, why are they complaining about this upgrade? Getting rid of a multi-million-dollar aircraft for $1,000 drone. Why would they? Well, maybe, I'm just guessing, but maybe we should look at who's funding these guys to be reelected. Maybe Lockheed Martin, maybe some of those guys that are some of these manufacturers of helicopters, or some of the manufacturers of these $1 million missiles. Mark Kelly is a big one out of Arizona on May 12th. And he's on the Senate Armed Services Committee, so of course he's going to be involved in it. And he warned them that the Army budget request included 0 H-64 Apaches, 0 Chinook Block 2s, and 1 60 Black Hawk. And he argued, he said the service was divesting critical capabilities before validating replacements. Does Mark Kelly really think they haven't been validated at 40 years at war with Ukraine? They haven't been validated when we can watch it in action every day. This isn't a YPG test. This is live action in the field in all kinds of weather, from freezing cold and snow to hot and muggy and whatever it is. They've been firing these things off like crazy, and they've been perfecting them over the years. And he thinks it's not validated. I just think he's spewing nonsense. I mean, I don't know why he would say that. Your department's budget, and this is Rosa DeLauro. She's a Democrat out of Connecticut. Your department's budget requests cuts over $5 billion from the industrial base in the aviation sector alone. See, she mentioned industrial base. I'm sure there's a concern in the industrial base, like, we're being obsoleted by $1,000 drone. And maybe that's in Rosa's backyard, which is a sensitivity because it's jobs in her state. And she doesn't want those jobs shifting to the production of drones. Maybe that's not in her state. She says effectively shutting down all current Army aviation platforms. She's the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee. Pete Hegseth, of course, the War Secretary, chimed in. He said, how did the department arrive at the conclusion that reducing procurement for these Army aviation platforms strengthens rather than weakens the aviation industrial base? He acknowledged the Pentagon was reconsidering parts of the plan. There are some very good things in the Army Transformation Initiative, and there are some things that we've needed to get another look at. That's what we told lawmakers. He said, and Higgs said, Pentagon leaders are focused on ensuring Army does not create aviation capability gaps as it transitions towards more unmanned systems and next generation technologies. Armored leaders said the rapid spread of cheap drones is forcing the Army to rethink how it buys and fields aircraft, missile defenses, and battlefield technology. And just because they're not buying new helicopters doesn't mean they're retiring the old ones yet, or that some need to be retired. Ingram, which is the secretary of the Army, says, we know we don't want to continue to use Patriot missiles to shoot down a cheap drone. You've got to get on the right side of the cost curve. Expensive missile defense interceptors during the Israel-Iran conflict and broader Middle East operations, fueling Pentagon concerns about stockpile depletions and long-term sustainability of relying on multi-million-dollar defense system against cheap drones. Well, they said the new Allied drone and counter-drone procurement marketplace designed to speed foreign military sales and standardize inoperable systems across partner nations. They said it's an effort to an Amazon for war. The marketplace is expected to become available to roughly 25 U.S. allies. The marketplace meaning that they're going to be manufacturing these inexpensive drones, and partners worldwide, initially focused on drone and counter-drone systems before potentially expanding to additional capabilities in countries. Platform will now only allow allies to buy U.S. capabilities. The Army is launching a rapid competition to develop low-cost interceptors designed to counter drones and cruise missiles without exhausting multi-million-dollar Patriot missile stocks. And, sometimes it takes years to develop new missile systems and new stuff, and it takes many years to develop new aircraft and new helicopters. I mean, they just years. It's been taking weeks to do these drones, weeks, and they keep changing them. Ingram said companies will have roughly 120 days after an upcoming industry event to demonstrate technologies ranging from rocket motors and seekers to fully integrated interceptor concepts. Even if you don't have it all on the ground, bring it. The Pentagon said that, cheap drone autonomous systems and mass-produced weapons are rapidly changing the economics and the survivability assumption of modern warfare, particularly after conflicts in Ukraine and the Middle East expose vulnerabilities in traditional armored and aviation-heavy battlefield concepts. I'm glad we're paying attention. I'm glad, and I'm kind of happy that the Army's already looking at changing the budget right now. I mean, the helicopters are in the air now, are not going to be grounded anytime soon, and they don't want to increase their numbers at this point. Again, Army Secretary Daniel Driscoll said that at the round table that the service is attempting to overhaul what leaders view as decades of broken acquisition practices that left the Army too slow to adapt to rapid changing battlefield conditions. Awesome. How do we dig down deep into the system to change broken processes that have led to so many bad outcomes in the last 30 years? And he's right. We've had a lot of bad outcomes in the last 30 years. Afghanistan, for one. That, even Vietnam and stuff where, our status quo and how we do things, maybe it's not working. And we're looking at Ukraine doing things on the fly, cheap, and frustrating the Russians like crazy, which are massively bigger and more powerful and stronger and more people and more cash. And the Ukrainians, through technology and innovativeness, have done what we haven't been able to do. And now we're working with the Ukrainians. He said the United States Army had in some ways lost Congress's trust over the last 30 years, that we could do new big projects, keep them on time, keep them on budget. And the now canceled M10 Booker armored vehicle, I don't know what that was. I don't, obviously it's one that didn't make it. That program he uses as an example of a failure leaders are trying to avoid. When we go to Congress and say, hey, trust us to develop a new platform, this one will not turn out like the Booker tank. Good. Said when Operation Epic Fury kicked off, and this is what was impactful in this whole article, we were able to, on day 5, go start the process to purchase 13,000 MEROPS counter drone interceptors. So on day 5, on Epic Fury, they knew they had trouble. And they went and purchased 13,000 MEROPS. It doesn't say where, but I'm sure it's from Ukraine, I would think. By day 10, like 10 days, we'd contracted for something we had never purchased before, which is kind of amazing to think they could get through the bureaucracy that fast and it could work that quickly. But the Army, which is not known for a procurement, easily, on day 5 decided to do it. On day 10, they wrote the contracts on something they'd never bought before. And they started having them in the theater in the thousands by day 20. So 20 days after Epic Fury, they had thousands of drone interceptors. And that's thanks to the Ukrainians, I assume. Doesn't say that. But the Ukrainians have been making them by the tens of thousands a month. And I know they sold them to Saudi Arabia, and maybe those are the ones we're talking about. Army officials also said the service is trying to rapidly improve how weapon systems, sensors, and battlefield networks communicate with one another after studying Ukraine's ability to quickly integrate commercial and military technologies during the war. And I know and they mentioned Ukraine there, obviously, but Ukraine had a hard time detecting a lot of drones. The drones don't get detected because they fly too low for the radars and some of that stuff, and they're not picked up. Their heat signatures are small, and so they're not picked up as easily. And sometimes they're not picked up until they're closer than they want them to be. And then they got to shoot $1 million missile at them. They changed all that by using sensors or mics out of an iPhone. They took a mic out of an iPhone and started putting them in the field all over the place, and they're nearly invisible. You know, they put them in trees, they put them on fences, they put them everywhere. And they tie them all together electronically so they can listen. And then they put an AI on it that can hear a drone, and they recognize signatures of drones, and they instantly go at it. Saudi Arabia was so impressed. They put tens of thousands of them in Saudi Arabia so they can hear these Shayed drones coming in from Iran before the radar picks them up. And they identify where they're at, get their locations, and these $1,000 anti-drone drones take them out. The Ukrainians were highlighting to show us their open architecture system allowed information to pass between nearly all of their sensors and radars. That empowered so many things that they could do that we just couldn't do yet. And this is Driscoll talking, the Secretary of the Army. So we just couldn't do it. So they obviously bought it and took them, and they bought it in a hurry. On the ground in 20 days from this time that Epic Fury kicked off. At this exact moment at Fort Carson, there are 450 developers and programmers jailbreaking all of our equipment. I'm cautiously optimistic within a month from now, we'll have jailbroken literally hundreds of pieces of equipment. Imagine jailbreak means, I don't know, integrate, somehow work it out to where their stuff talks with this stuff, or because of the technology earned from the Ukraine. It looks like we're getting some dividends back from our Ukraine investment. And that is, you know, their innovation being at war and all that kind of stuff. And I'm just kind of shocked that the Army adopted it so quick. I didn't think they would. I thought we'd have to learn many more lessons, but this Operation Fury spooled it up because they've been aware of Ukraine for a couple of years. They've been observing it for a couple of years. And they had no desire to purchase it, no desire to put it on plays. Now, my understanding is they have these kinds of things on ships, aircraft carriers, destroyers, and everything else, because they're very good short range. In case these drones get close, they could just fire them off at $1,000 a pop. You wouldn't be able to carry $1 million worth of them on a ship, and yet that's what one cheaper of the Patriot missiles or some of these missiles cost. Some of them are up to $5-6 million. And you could buy these for $1,000. Well, go ahead, buy 5-6 million, see if you can get them on the battleship. I don't know if you could. And we don't need to obsolete the missiles, so you still need them. Because you're going to need them for aircraft and cruise missiles and stuff like, you know, hypersonic missiles, all those kind of things. But because I doubt that these $1,000 drones are going to take those out. They're not going to catch them. They're coming in too fast. You're going to need hypersonic missile to go after a hypersonic device. But these slow moving drones, which come in swarms of hundreds, and you start putting those, you're going to run out of ammo real quick. And I think that's what the Army's talking about. And yet this Mark Kelly, our senator, was going very public about how bad Trump is because he allowed us to deplete some of these anti-drone, some of these Patriot missiles and these anti-aircraft missiles and all that kind of stuff in Operation Fury. And here the Army comes up with a solution right now, right in their budget, and we've already put them in. And he's complaining about that. We don't want to give up on that technology. Well, no one said giving up. No one said giving up. But if they can cut billions out of the budget and still have the right number of material to stop our enemies, I'm all for it. And it looks like the world is going to these low-cost drones in rapidly. It's moving so very quickly. I'm just surprised that our Army is moving that quickly. Very happy about it, though. It's about time that we had that kind of innovation. I'm running out of time. It is Friday. Memorial Day is on Monday. I'll be in here on Memorial Day. Have a great weekend. Thank you for listening. I'll see you early Monday morning. Have a let me see. Mortgage One. That's I've been saying other stations for so long. Mortgage One Studios. This is Russ.